It is Patrick Davis, y'all. What's going on, Patrick?
Doing good, doing good.
Yeah, how was your weekend, man?
It was good. Got to see the mom on Sunday. So hanging out with some friends this weekend. Saw some kids I've known for a long time playing a band. It was very cool to watch that show.
Yeah.
So it was a good weekend.
Yeah. Good to see you. I'm glad you got the chance to hang out with Mom, get some quality time with Mom. Hope everybody had a great Mother's Day weekend. It was all about the moms this weekend, so I hope everybody enjoyed the Mother's Day weekend. You also can hit us up on the Specs text line. You're the heartbeat of this thing. You're the pulse of it, 512-337-3776. You also can hit us up via Twitter. My man Harge, he's out today, but he'll be back tomorrow, so don't even worry about it. Just had to take a day to do some personal stuff, but you can hit him up via Twitter at HardballHarge. You can hit my man Patrick Davis up at It's Patrick Davis, and I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. All right, the NBA, man, it just the headlines from the NBA during the playoffs. Like I said, they always give you a little salacious headline along with the actual meat and potatoes of the playoffs. You'll always get a little something else to talk about. Unfortunately, that's Ja Morant again. So we'll get to that because, oh man, I can't believe he did it. I can't believe it. It really does kind of. It's stupefying. It is just stupefying. I can't believe. It's almost like somebody is writing this. It's crazy. Cannot believe he got caught with a gun again, just flashing it and brandishing it. And we'll talk about it.
It's not getting caught.
Well,
it is showing off a gun on public social media. And there's a difference of someone else put the picture up and was like, "Oh, look, Ja Morant's out at this club with a gun." And that's one thing. But to be like, "Hey, there's a lot of scrutiny going on. I bet they don't check my Instagram stories. No one's going to see this."
It's like, bro, right now, everybody is waiting on you, especially the media, waiting on you to make another mistake. And they did. And we'll get into the details of it. But his friend, who has also been involved with a lot of these, duplicitous deeds, some of these off the court, very controversial incidents with Ja. He was the one. I think it was his Instagram live as well.
Oh, so he's the great friend who.
Well, you can tell he doesn't know. I don't think he knows that he's gonna pull the gun out in the passenger seat, because it looks like he's in the driver's seat, and it looks like John's in the passenger seat, and it's a hype video. It's a hype. I don't even know. I gotta go listen to the song. I don't even know what song was on in the background. They're hype. It basically kind of making an Instagram live hype video, and then he's talking his friend, and then as his friend turns the camera from himself, kind of to the rest of the crew, then you see Ja quickly brandishing the gun, and then you can see him flip the camera, like, no, I don't want to show that. And I believe he's probably thinking, John's not gonna pull out the gun. He ain't gonna pull it out here.
He's not that dumb.
Exactly. My friend's not that dumb. He already knows that he's got he's got a lot of spotlight on him, the negative kind, because of previous incidents involving a firearm. So there was no way he was just gonna pull it out again. No, he pulled it out again.
No,
hey,
remember we did this whole sham of a counseling and therapy that we did last year for 8 days, and everybody said, "Oh, that was enough," because clearly he's a changed man, and then he looks like he's the exact same person right after.
Man, you know what? We'll get into it, because it's a deeper discussion now, because now it's become politicized.
Yeah.
Is because that's how you know it's officially gone from the sports page to the front page, because now it's officially politicized. Now people are taking sides politically, and I wouldn't doubt if the NRA gets involved in this thing and starts defending Ja Morant. He can brandish a gun whenever he wants to. Y'all leave him alone, because it's heading down that path. All right, let's get into the actual NBA playoffs here and talk about the Celtics. So they gave us a ton to talk about, because man, the 112-88 beatdown they put on the 76ers, and we'll hear from Joel Embiid a little bit later on here in this segment, because his comments have become a little bit controversial after the game. But Jason Tatum is where it starts and ends in this Game 7 narrative. I mean, he was sensational. He had 51 points, which is the most ever in a Game 7, so he made NBA history. He now belongs to the ages. Right? By the way, that was right. I mean, Steph Curry had that record for how long? I mean, a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for a couple of weeks.
Something like that. That's that's the NBA that we're living in right now. But actually, Jason, here's to me where it really got crazy, Patrick, because I want to get your thoughts on it. He had 25 in the first half, but in the first half, it was still a game. I believe the Celtics took just a 3-point lead in the first half and took it into halftime. And at one point, the 76ers led by 9 points in the second quarter. I remember then I was thinking, oh man, so it's going to turn out to be a really good Game 7. And, man, when they started the third quarter, first possession for the 76ers, Tobias Harris hits a three-pointer that ties it up. And you're thinking, all right, adjustments made, man. It's going to be really competitive. And this is when the fit hit the shan. Because with it tied up, then the Celtics scored 24 points on 13 possessions, shooting 6 of 7 from three-point range. They held the 76ers in a stretch to one field goal on their next 17 possessions, and they went 6-23 without a point. Actually went scoreless for 6.5 minutes. So from 35 seconds into the third quarter of the game, all right, basically the game was tied. And with 35 seconds left in the third quarter, the Celtics were up by 28 points.
Yeah. It was – it's one of those things of, like, with great shooters and great scorers, you don't want to let them get on a roll. And this was an epic roll. This you fell into it where they got hot. And then the 76ers, this is part of Doc Rivers' legacy, is not being able to get his team ready and up for a Game 7, trying to have this – champion's mindset without having the dog or the champion's mindset, where it's like, hey man, you want to treat every game and play every game like it's the Game 7. Then you have to go into Game 7 and go, hey, forget I said that. This is a Game 7. You have to play way harder today than you have played. And I don't think he ever gets them to play harder. They just kind of played the same way they've been playing all series. And we saw Boston in that second half, whatever happened at halftime.
Man.
Came out and realized, hey, man, we're going to be an embarrassment, and one of these teams is going to walk out of here having to answer a lot of questions they don't want to answer. Let's not have it be us right now.
Yeah, we don't want to have the awkward conversation.
Yeah.
Because that's what 76ers are having, that awkward conversation right now, and we'll talk about it. As a result of that, oftentimes the NBA, the head coach in that situation in the NBA culture, their job's on the line or they're on the hot seat immediately.
Yeah.
But getting back to it, because we'll get to that too, Jason Tatum, what he did, first of all, he had that fourth quarter, that epic fourth quarter in Game 6, right?
Yes.
Was that 20? What he scored in that?
21,
21, something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was one of the greatest fourth quarters we've seen in playoff history. I'll go back to my notes and get exactly the point total, but he basically, from that point on and throughout the rest of Game 7, I mean, he played like the best player in the league. Like there were stretches where he did. He said that he's one of the best basketball players on the planet. There's no doubt about that. He did make first-team All-NBA, but 17 of the Celtics' 33 points in that third quarter were scored by Jason Tatum, who had scored 25 in the first half already. So he'd already carried the team in the first half, and then decided in the third quarter, you know what, I'm done. I'm about to put it. I'm about to put it away.
This one away.
I'm about to put it away, and he put him away in the third quarter. It was, and this is the beauty of, because you can tell that he's got that it quality. He's got some. He looks like he's got some championship DNA. I'm not saying he's gonna win a championship, but he struggled early on in this entire series. I think he shot 42% in the first 6 games, Patrick, and then we just talked about that fourth quarter he had in Game 6. But for him to fight through that mentally, to be able to overcome that, that difficulty, and I'm sure it was a lot of critical conversation about his performance, and then to come back and play the way he did in Game 7 just shows you that, Jason Tatum made me a believer.
Yeah, he had 16 in that Game 6.
16. Sorry.
And the 76ers had 13 in the fourth quarter in that game as well. So he outscored the 76ers 16-13 in that fourth quarter. And he only had 19 points in the whole game. So basically he struggled mightily that entire game. And then came out in the fourth quarter and put up 16 of his 19. This game, he came out firing. And he's one of those guys like Devin Booker. We'll talk about in a minute. But he's one of those guys that is one of those Kobe disciples. Like, he's a guy that says that's who he wants to be. And that Mamba mentality. And that's when you have to have it. And he just did not seem to have it going into it. He was then having a great game. Your head's pointed down, your shoulders are down, and you're still trying to play, but you don't have the confidence you need to play to be a elite scorer.
Yep.
He got it, hit a couple shots in that fourth quarter, picked his head back up, and never looked back.
It was, like I said, it was a performance for the ages. Obviously, he has the all-time scoring record for points in a Game 7 with 51. Let's flip to the other side of things because, like you just talked about, Patrick, the awkward conversation is happening now with the 76ers. By now, everybody's heard the numbers, but I'll give them to you again in case you haven't. Doc Rivers now has lost the last 5 Game 7s and that he's coached in. And he is now 6-10. He has a 6-10 record in Game 7s. His 10 losses in Game 7s are the most for any coach in NBA history. He is 17-33 all time in series clinching situations. The situations that may close out an opponent in a playoff series. Those 33 losses are the most in NBA history for any coach in a series clinching situations. And he has the most blown series leads in NBA history. This is basically one of those stats that it is a stat that shows your ability to get that far.
Yeah.
Because like I said, he has the most blown series leads too. It just seems like his teams, although they are playoff teams, these are playoff stats we're talking about, so he's not some scrub of a coach, not by any means. But they peaked too soon.
Well, and
right? His teams peaked too soon, and it's pretty obvious the numbers don't lie.
No, and I mean Joel Embiid was now starting to get the reputation of a playoff underperformer. He had notorious playoff underperformers Blake Griffin and Chris Paul in LA. That Chris Paul his entire career has been a playoff underperformer. And it's that the question, it's that chicken or the egg. Are these guys always playoff underperformers because they are just that way and Doc Rivers has just happened to be on teams with guys who just don't care to play at a higher level in the playoffs? Or can Doc Rivers not motivate people to get there? And the team he did win with a lot was Boston, which you had a Kevin Garnett and a Paul Pierce and a Ray Allen.
Built-in internal motivation intrinsically.
You had a bunch of guys that were like, we have to win a title this year. Like, this is our last shot.
Legacy's on the line kind of stuff.
So it was a little bit different that I don't think the coaching had to do too much.
Chemistry's big, man.
It is. And so it is a chicken or the egg. Is it Doc Rivers that he just really cannot get these guys to get over the edge? I mean, there's a certain part of it that you'd like to think you can get anyone, a great coach can get anyone over the edge, right?
Yes, that's the point of being a great coach.
Yeah.
Is that you can extract that greatness out of that person because you're a teacher.
Yeah.
Essentially, a coach, you're a teacher, and as teachers, I'm an education major. God bless all the teachers out there. Y'all should be paid more. All the teachers out there, they know every student learns differently.
Yeah.
Every student's going to excel. It's going to be a different path to their excellence and to their greatness, and you got to figure out what that is. Then you got to kind of help lead them that way, and great coaches can figure it out. And good coaches are above average coaches oftentimes cannot.
No, and I mean, and we saw in this, it's Joel Embiid had some dumb comments afterwards, but at the same point, he's like, it's a team, it's 5 people. You're like, Maxey played better than James Harden in this series. Maxey played as well as you in a lot of this series. So if you're going to name 2 names, you have to put Maxey on there because he was at least trying this whole series. Whereas if you guys got down a little bit, maybe the effort wasn't as much. We saw a lot of Joel Embiid this playoffs doing the fall on the floor routine, where it's like, man, you're 7 feet tall. You can't keep going to the ground that many times because even if you're just trying to sell it or whatever else, that getting back up and everything, it just takes too much out of you that to continually bump with somebody and you go down, either you're faking it and that's a dumb idea, or you really need to work on your balance in the offseason and you need to work on taking bumps in the post and you need to change your practice regimen because you just can't go in a playoff series against people who want it and not think that they're going to try and knock you down. Yeah,
no, you're right. And we'll get those comments because Patrick has the audio of Joel Embiid. And I wasn't that critical. You know what? Since we're talking about him, we might as well just hear him. I didn't feel that I didn't find that much of an issue with him. I understand why people took offense with the comments, but I didn't. Here is Joel Embiid in the post game with the comments that you can't do it alone.
We got the chance to win, but it's going to take more than us. We all got to look at ourselves. I got to be better, and I will be better. That's what I'm focused on. All of us, we got to come back and find ways to just keep improving and, help the team. You can't win alone. I can't win alone. Me and James, we just can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. So, we just need everybody to just, try to keep finding ways to get better, and, we'll be fine.
Okay, so this is why I don't have a big issue with it. Now I want to hear why, because I know you're probably more critical of the comments than I am. I don't know, and you watch a lot more NBA than me, so you actually may be able to answer this question. I don't know how often Joel Embiid is a me and a we guy. And what I mean by that is how often he references in the post games and even in the pre games, whenever he's talking about his team, me and we. If every time they win, he's a me guy, and every time they lose, he's a we guy, we got a problem. If every time they win, he's a we guy, and when they lose, he's a me guy, then we're good. Because if you're a superstar, you take that burden. All right, that's what. That's the rule. Win, if you're a superstar, win. Hey, that was we, baby. All of us, baby. We doing it big. We lose, that's on me. I gotta do better. I got to do better, and that's the dog mentality as well. We talk about because you're a dog. It's I don't necessarily need all the credit. I just I just need my team to be able to win. Like and if it takes sometimes me taking over to do that, then hell, I'll do that. And if I got to punk somebody to do it, I'll do it. If I got to yell at somebody to do it, if I got to dog cuss my teammate to do it, I'll do it. Because winning, for me, that is the ultimate prize when you got that dog mentality, the competitive sickness. And that's why people, I think, may be upset, because maybe this question is whether he has the competitive sickness or not, because he's referencing them losing, and it's referencing we. And when you lose as a superstar, you should be talking about me. You know what? Yeah, I didn't do enough. I got to do more.
I mean, when you score with James Harden a combined 24 points in a Game 7, you suck. You suck in a Game 7. And your running buddy sucks in a Game 7. You can't walk up and blame the team. There's no blaming the team when you go, well, I'm a superstar. I'm the league's MVP. And I was the third highest score in that game for my team. Third?
Yeah,
two other guys who are making less money than me.
Yeah,
two guys that get no credit.
Tobias Harris. 19
in a Game 7, that means you sucked. You have to take that, and you can go, we need to get better. We need to get better.
Nope.
You would say, hey, man, I sucked tonight. Take that one on me. Philadelphia, my fault.
And I'm going to come back.
And the fire in me will fight. But no, he's like, man, it takes 5. And you're like, dude, you guys were the weak link?
Mm-hmm.
Y'all went, a combined 8 for 29 in that game?
Brutal.
And, the rest of the team, it takes 5-on-5. Yeah, are you saying without you?
They went 2-0 without him.
They went 2-0 without him. That's the thing, is he just didn't want it. He didn't seem to show up in this playoffs, and you can go, we need more players. And, man, this is, if we live in a world where LeBron James gets hate for this, then this is nuclear, right? Because he says, it's me and James Harden, 2 MVPs. And you know what? We need like 4 or 5 more MVPs to compete.
That's probably the best point anybody has made about this situation or those comments.
Like, how do you get out of that? Hey man, if we just had Kevin Durant, and man, if we could have got Kyrie Irving in too, and then maybe if we could have got like Bam Adebayo, we could have had a good season. But I don't know. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous because look at the Miami Heat. I mean, what they're doing.
And I get you don't want to answer questions right after that. But that's, I think, the problem is the competitive fire in Joel. We know he's worked so hard to get where he's at. But when you walk out and your initial reaction to that game where you sucked, and you know you did because you got destroyed and you missed a bunch of shots in the game. When your reaction after that is, boy, my team let me down, then everyone goes, cool. No, we don't like you anymore. Because we just saw Jokic yelling at his team that, hey, man, there's 2 of them left. We need to go dominate this game. Then they went and dominated, and he dominated.
Dog.
And he went – because that's one of Jokic's criticisms for years was that he wasn't that guy, that he was a guy that when the going got tough, he kind of sat on the bench by himself, and he wasn't on his team. And he's worked on it. And that was – you saw it in that game where he said there's 2 of them. We're playing against 2 of them. Let's go get them. And they steamrolled him the rest of the game. That's the difference. Joel Embiid went – hey, man, Jason Tatum's having a good game. Y'all better guard him better. Hey, look out there. Look, Jaylen Brown's starting to get going. Y'all better guard him too. Hey, man, where are they driving the paint? Are you not going to – well, I got to stay on my guy. I can't block every shot, you know. Well, are you going to score some for us? Well, they're guarded. They're doubling down on me. You guys – mean, PJ Tucker hit 3 threes in this game. He's been a non-factor most of these playoffs.
Excuses is what it sounds like.
It's terrible.
No, I'm with you. No, I as I said, I understand why people have an issue with it, but you're right. If you're a true superstar in those moments, you can just be as blunt as Patrick said and just say I suck. But you definitely point the finger back at yourself.
He campaigned,
hey, it's on me.
For the last 3 years that it was embarrassing that he didn't get the MVP. For the last 3 years, he has campaigned actively, him, Doc Rivers, that it is a shame and it is a travesty that he was not the MVP. And he cried when he got it this year. And then he stopped playing basketball.
And Jokic basically he wanted to let everybody know that, hey, you know what? I should have won it again.
Hey, and you know what?
I didn't make first team All NBA either.
And Denver should thank their lucky stars that he didn't. Because I said it before, it's the series when the Spurs were playing the Rockets.
I remember.
And David Robinson won the MVP. And Akeem turned to Robert Horry and said, they're giving him my trophy in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
And Akeem Olajuwon went to win a finals that year.
Yeah.
And that's what you see, is you see that from Jokic right now is, oh, you don't think I'm the best anymore? Well, Giannis, how did he do?
Yeah.
Embiid was. I'll tell you what, they can come. I'll give them tickets. They can come watch a real MVP.
Like guys that talented, you just gave them even more motivation. I call it motivational currency. You spend it when you want to. But I tell Longhorn fans the same thing. When Longhorn fans talk about VY, I said you can't get the Heisman Trophy and the national title. I think VY was so upset about not getting the Heisman Trophy. He himself was on a mission. He felt offended by it, and all the greats should be offended by it. What are you going to do with it? And I'm with you, man. The Joker, he's in beast mode at this point. Okay, but getting back to Joel Embiid, let me throw this out there because it's a nice little stat. He averaged 33 points per game in the regular season, 23.7 in the playoffs, and it was actually 33.1, I think, points per game in the regular season. That 9.4 difference, I see drop in points per game, is the largest by that year's MVP in NBA history. I've long had, I had a take a long time ago when Derrick Rose first won his MVP award, because I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't like Derrick Rose. I like Derrick Rose. I just didn't think he was gonna end up having a great career, and I said he's gonna be the most overrated MVP in NBA history. You watch. I'm very close to that being the case, because there haven't been a lot of MVPs that are gonna end up having a career that doesn't meet Hall of Fame worthy accolades and honors, and he's not going to get there, right? Derrick Rose has no shot to make it.
No, and I mean his is injury based too, because if he didn't have the injury, it would have been different. I said it because of the injury.
I said you watch him play.
Yeah.
It's the same way Ja Morant plays right now.
Yeah.
Ja Morant ain't gonna make it that long either if he continues to play like this. And I'm not talking about off the court, but the way he plays on the court.
Yeah,
he's reckless. They play with a reckless abandon. It's fun to watch. It's like watching a quarterback, though, that runs with a reckless abandon. Sooner or later, it's going to come back to haunt him. You got to evolve your game. But anyway, getting back to it, I did say he's going to end up being the most overrated MVP in history. Would Joel Embiid jump into that conversation?
Not yet, because he's had 3 MVP caliber years already.
Yes.
So we can put him in that. Now, if we want to say injury threat, we do know he missed some years at the beginning of his career due to injury. That was also partially because of the tanking that Philadelphia was doing, so they were giving him more time to
the process.
So,
yes,
so there is all of that. So there is always the worry that when we see stuff like we saw in the playoffs where he's falling down all the time, and then I told you he was going to miss a game because you just said he just fell down to you. He was limping by the end of that game. And whether you want to or not, I'm telling you he's the type of guy who's going to miss a game. And he did. So I think there is a little bit of worry that, hey, he may not ever live up to what we thought he could be. I have to look through every single MVP and see. I'm sure there's some others that had less than stellar careers and shorter careers. As long as he keeps playing, he'll continue to be a good regular season player. He just has to now realize, all right, I set the MVP. What's my next goal? He is a driven guy. He is a guy who's worked very hard to get where he's at. So you just have to change what your goals are and realize, I reached that milestone. I can't use that as currency anymore. I have to now set my goal as being a elite player in the playoffs. I have to set my goal to be an elite player as a leader, and I have to set my goal this and that. And that's where he has to go to now. The question is, can he figure out how to do that? Can he make those steps? And can he get the help from Doc Rivers or whoever will be the future coach of the 76ers?
That's a good
to
question.
Get him to that point.
Yeah, it's Doc Rivers going to keep his job? Because to me, right now, once if something happens once, you can consider an outlier and just kind of dismiss it, disregard it. Twice, coincidence, whether you believe in it or not. 3 times, that's right. You're talking about a pattern. 4 times, a trend. 5 times, that's usually character. That's pretty much who you are. That's what you are. This is what Doc Rivers is.
And if we say the one time that breaks the trend is Kevin Garnett, one of the most intense people to ever play any sport.
That's true.
You want to go, hey, so maybe if our thing is Doc Rivers is not intense enough of a guy to get guys into the right mode and work with guys and get them to play better and put them in there. Kevin Garnett is.
Could it be also that, my biggest criticism of Sark is that, I need him to become a chess master. I need him to win the chess match within the game. Essentially, NBA playoff series, it's like a 4-quarter football game. I mean, you got 7 games of it, but there are adjustments that are made throughout going back and forth. Is it just maybe that he's not great at coming up with the counters or being able to anticipate the adjustments? Once the adjustments are made, he doesn't have more creative I would say counters to those or adjustments on top of adjustments.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes into being star reliant to a certain extent. Of if you are a star reliant team and a star reliant coach, that there's not a lot you can change because the rest of the guys it's not like, hey, I need you to be a 30-point guy tonight, Maxey. He's like, you've underused me all season. Now you expect me to just be ready to go and play. You in practice, it's all about Harden and Embiid. That's the way this 76ers team was set up. Is you needed everyone else to play really, really good defense. You need everybody else to contribute and hit open shots. But if you're going to have guys control the ball, it's going to be Embiid and Harden. Those 2 guys are going to be the guys who control the pace of the game. And so when you try and switch that up, you can't really – and if you do that, then Harden and Embiid completely check out of the game. And so you get 20-point games from them or 15-point games from them.
Yeah, the James Harden disappointment. Trust me, I'm a former Rocket. I'm a former Rockets. I'm a Rockets fan. He's a former Rocket, so I understand it. That also tracks, and as Father Time starts to win his or her fair share of it, I do think that for James Harden, it's only. I think you'll see less and less of the old vintage James Harden that we saw a few times actually in this playoff series. We saw it a couple of times. You're just not going to see that very often. And I was surprised that they got as much of the old James Harden as they did.
And when Embiid was out, then it was, okay, now I get the ball in my hands all the time? Okay, well, this is fun for me. But if I got to pass, and if I got to run down the court and then move without the ball, I'm not moving without the ball.
I know.
I'm going to sit in a corner and wait until you call my name, and then I'll come back out and get it. I'll play ISO.
I know I will say this about James Harden. People hate his game, like just his game.
It's so hard to watch.
They hate, NBA fans, real NBA, they hate James Harden's game because this is my description of it. And I know we're late for the break. We'll go to the break here and we'll talk Ja Morant on the other side here and Monty Williams too, and keep the NBA conversation going. James Harden's game, because I always say NBA players are just they're superheroes, right? They're just they're superhuman, so they all got little superpowers. Steph Curry is a supernova shooter. LeBron James probably your best. He's kind of the Superman of the NBA, best all around player in the NBA. You got the Greek Freak, his length, right? He's always got these kind of freaky tools to their skill sets. And for James Harden, his superpower is super lame, and that's why they hate it. His superpower is basically kind of to manipulate officiating.
Yeah.
Bomani Jones had a great description of it. He said basically James Harden's game is insurance fraud. That's in a nutshell. And you know what? It's a great description of it. It is. And that's basically why they just hate his game. His game is just not aesthetically
Go look
pleasing.
up a James Harden steals highlight package, and you will watch him how he steals the ball in so many of these is he literally puts his arms at his side and slowly walks into a player. And then the player, the ball comes loose. As soon as the ball comes loose, because he walked straight into him, like walked into his dribbling arm.
It's effective.
As soon as the ball comes loose, he grabs the ball and runs down and starts the layup.
It's effective, though.
It is. It should be a foul, but technically because he's moving so slowly with his hands down, it never gets called. And it's the worst. Like, it's everything that, like, if you had that, you would go, oh, my video game glitched. That's how James Harden actually plays basketball.
No, and I totally agree. I once compared him to, only lame comic book people will know this. There's a character in the comic book Marvel world called Squirrel Girl. And her powers were basically superhuman strength and agility. She was a squirrel. She had kind of advanced squirrel powers. And she was legit. She beat Deadpool and Thanos and Wolverine. She was amazing. And James Harden basically was that in his prime. But the reason the character never grew to a very popular Marvel character is because it's a lame character.
Yeah.
Squirrel Girl. That's James Harden. James Harden is a lame game, and I know y'all don't like it. At one point, it was really effective. It's not effective anymore. Now people are on to it. At one point, it was kind of revolutionary, actually.
Well, and once you stop becoming a superstar, you lose some of those calls.
That's a good point,
and they also
too.
changed the rule book for him. Which
Hey.
the sign of an elite player,
Exactly.
but it's also a sign of, man, nobody wants to watch this.
Nobody wanted to watch it. That's true.
Nobody wants. I will say he does have a $35 million player option this year. He falls in the category of Draymond Green and some others of most interesting player options this offseason, if they keep him or not, because the 76ers kind of need him, but also 75 is a lot to pay for a guy who's not necessarily going to do a lot, and then he may go somewhere else, but would he get $35 million anywhere else? It's all that's.
Let's talk that H-Town. They can go back to H-Town.
Pay him $40 million?
No, they should not.
No.
I am against that. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk more NBA. Ja Morant's suspension. Also, Monty Williams was fired from the Phoenix Suns. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.1. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is actually a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. That's my man Patrick plays jams intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who might have had a tough weekend. That was not the case for Texas baseball. It started out a little tough with that loss in Game 1 over the weekend. But, man, the Longhorn baseball team might have made history. I don't know. I haven't actually done the research on it, but, man, it's going to be hard to find a 2-game stretch or Longhorn baseball team, and I'm sure it's out there because we're talking about a blue blood baseball tradition where the Longhorns outscored their opponent 42-9 in a 2-game stretch. That's unbelievable. 42-9. They lost the game 1 4-6 to San Jose State, then outscored them 42-9.
Yeah, they seemed unhappy about losing that first one.
Yeah, part of Old Testament style butt whipping they put on. They actually run ruled them, I believe, in the 3rd game too, because they only went 7 innings.
Yeah.
So hopefully that means they can keep that party going. They got a weekend. I think it starts Thursday. Series versus West Virginia. That's a huge series for them because I believe mathematically they still have Big 12 championship hopes alive. Mathematically.
Yeah, I have to look. I know they did before the weekend, but I didn't see what everybody else did this weekend. West Virginia was leading the Big 12.
I believe they still are. But Texas would need It's trust me. I'm sure Craig Way can break it down in the Craig Way reports. You'll get it. But yeah, so shout out to Texas baseball. That was a hell of a way to come back, to kind of a rubber band performance by the Texas baseball team. Okay, let's get to the NBA stories because, man, they just keep on coming. Even the ones the NBA would rather suppress if they possibly could. Ja Morant once again suspended. This time suspended for and this is by the team, by the way. He's suspended by the team as a result of a video that was leaked. I don't know if it's leaked because it wasn't leaked because the actual person that took the video meant for it to get out as Instagram Live. But the video did show Ja Morant briefly brandishing a firearm and, kind of showing a firearm. And because of that and his past incidents, he has been now suspended by the team from team activities. Remember, in March, he was suspended 8 games after a video surfaced. Also on Instagram Live. Man, he's doing Instagram Live a ton of free marketing, if you will. Him flashing a gun in a Denver area club. After that incident, he spent some time away from the team. That's when he sought counseling. Morant admitted after the season his actions were part of the distractions that threw off the Grizzlies and saw them eliminated in the first round of the playoffs by the Lakers. Also, the incident when he was away for the team for 8 games caused problems for the organization and was part of why Morant did not make an All-NBA team. That cost him a lot of straight cash, homie, upwards of $39 million because he was not eligible for a Supermax contract as a result of that. So it's costing him money, and I don't know about the endorsements. I'm sure that's another sum of money they're probably going to end up missing because some companies may decide to drop him. But either way, another suspension, and this one is just pending an investigation, I believe.
Yeah, and I think they want to talk to him again and just go like, dude, what? Like, we went through this. You can't be doing these things. You are the face of this team. The NBA wants you to be one of the faces of the NBA.
Yeah.
And we could say it's a gun. It doesn't matter if it's a gun, if it's you pounding alcohol on a plane, whether it's you at nightclubs that you shouldn't be doing what you're doing with the women that you're doing them with. Whatever those things are, they're all legal. It's not we're talking about legalities. We're saying things that they do not want the stars of the league to be doing. And you have in your contract certain wording that says basically you cannot make us look stupid. And every time you do this, you make us look stupid. So that's why we have to have these conversations, is because it's in your contract that you have to stop doing this.
This is a question now because it is becoming a bit politicized because, there's a Second Amendment kind of perspective here from some folks who are saying he can I show the firearm if he wants to, as long as it's, as Patrick pointed out, it's all legal. And I think that's where people may be missing kind of the point that Patrick just brought up about the NBA. I think this is more about the appearance of irresponsibility and his valuation as a player overall and their ability to market him as a player and market him in a PG-13 fashion.
Yeah.
They want him to be marketable to kids, and they want parents to buy jerseys, Ja Morant jerseys for their kids. And Ja Morant, does he have shoes? He has shoes yet?
I'm sure he's got shoes.
Ja Morant shoes for their kids, and parents may not be willing to do that if he has a reputation for being kind of a miscreant.
Yeah, and if he's not, you don't have to be a role model in the NBA, but you're going to make a lot less money if you go down that road. Because if you say, I don't want to be a role model, I'm going to go do this, like, that's fine. Just don't expect to be endorsed. Just don't expect to be the face of the NBA. Don't expect to get calls. Don't expect to get anything, because you're going to be the pariah of the league if you actively try to step away from that.
Is it because this is some, because people have talked about how, showing guns on social media, if that is the, I don't know, kind of the shell shock for some about this, that happens all the time. It happens in a more responsible fashion, of course.
Yes.
Where people, whether they're hunting or whether they're just showing off their guns, whatever. All right, we have a gun-loving country. And that Ja Morant, that this standard that the NBA is trying to hold him to is, obviously him as a citizen, he should be able to show his gun just like anybody else. That is a political argument that's now coming up. So like I said, it's now become politicized because it's happened so much. There have been so many incidents of him with a gun and on some social media video, and the NBA's had to intervene, or the teams had to intervene, that it has now been reiterated so much. Now there are talking points, and people are taking sides on the Ja Morant thing, which but
that's what it is. Is you can say whatever, and he goes, look, the reality is they have told him, if you do this, this is conduct we can consider detrimental to the league,
unbecoming.
It is in breach of your contract. And we don't want to cut you, but we can. And the NBA ban you from the NBA for this because it is in your contract and in everyone's contract in the NBA that you cannot have conduct detrimental to the league. So once we have told you that this is a thing, you now know you cannot do this anymore. And you continue to do it. That's where the problem lies. Again, whether that conduct, whatever it is, you just can't keep doing that. So I know because the guns is a political topic, it could be that. But it's the same as if he was shown, if he had a Instagram Live over and over again where he's drinking straight from a bottle, and they go, "Hey man, you can't be drinking like that, like not on Instagram. You can drink in your own private life and you can do whatever but we can't have you constantly being thought of as an alcoholic."
It's the appearance of irresponsibility.
Yes,
that is,
and so if we have that, and it continues to happen. You can go, yeah, it's completely legal. He's not doing anything illegal. However, it is conduct that the NBA deems to be detrimental to the league. So they don't want it. You have to stop doing that. And the biggest thing I think for the Grizzlies right now is they go, "Hey man, you know how we did that whole sham counseling thing? That was all kind of just to make it just to get you back on the court as soon as possible. And we thought it was the only way we could make everybody believe that you were trying to be a different person and trying to, understand and not just be a punk kid anymore." Well, you kind of throw that out the window when you do this. So now we have to go over and pretend that we're going to.
Now you have to actually go to therapy, and we must track it.
Yes, because we tried to give you the easy way out.
Yeah.
Of hey, let's do this. You go have a few meetings. You figure out a few things. It's fine. You come back. It's just a few days of that. You come back, and we'll just sweep it all under the rug. We get it. You're a young guy. You got a lot of money. You have a lot of friends. Go do what you do. Do it on, but you just don't do it online.
I don't understand why it keeps going online. And I know everybody lives their life online these days. I get it. It happens all the time. But man, if he wasn't such a social media basically addict. I mean, he's always around it or near it, and it's like you can do all the stuff you're doing. Just stop being near a camera and stop putting it on camera. Stop being on camera with it.
Like the stories
be a little
about
bit more discreet about it.
The stories about Derek Jeter. Right. There's epic stories about his parties and his sex life and everything else with Derek Jeter. It's also notorious that you couldn't have a phone in his house because he didn't want any social media getting on. It was epic that he would make people sign NDAs. All of that's well documented. That everyone will tell you, hey, this is the way he was. That there was a story that a surgeon showed up at his house and he's like, well, I'm on call, and he's like, well, go home. Yeah, you ain't coming in with your phone.
Yeah, he coming in with your phone. And I don't know how this keeps ending up. I think That's got to be one of the first rules of the therapy. It's like, all right, you know what? Can we just take a break from you being near social media cameras? Everything that's set up by a publicist, public relations people, we can do that. Marketing, we can do that. But let's just stay away from social media. Can your friends and your social, can we do that for a while? Can we just be a little bit more discreet about that kind of stuff?
And in reality, too, like, you have to understand, there's a part of this, too, where you're kind of looking out for him and going, I get you don't think where this can head. But even if you go, hey, man, I'm going to keep doing this, now other people are going to be trying to expose you because they want to get money from Team Z or wherever else. So you're going to be around, and if you're out, people are going to be trying to agitate you to have you pull a gun on them or something. And then someone may get shot because someone's trying to get you on TMZ because they're an idiot and you got guns and your people got guns and everything's happening because you portray this image that this is what you want to be. And there's certain people in this world that have a lot less to lose than you do.
No. It's like I said, it's an interesting conversation. I would like to know about his responsible gun ownership. If he actually has taken,
he at least didn't have his finger on the trigger on this one.
No, I know. So I'm saying, like,
so that was apparently the therapy was, hey, dude, just finger not on the trigger. Come on, simple rule number one: finger off the trigger.
I would love to know about his firearm education and how deep it's gone. Like, does he actually go to test the weapon? Like, does he? No, are we just talking about somebody who just likes to show it off? Or are we talking about somebody who's actually a firearm enthusiast?
Yeah. I mean, because I have friends that are firearm enthusiasts. I've gone shooting
you
with
live
them.
in Texas.
And you know what? They have gun safes.
You live in Texas, Patrick.
Yeah, no, they have gun safes.
80% of people you know are firearm
enthusiasts. No, I'm saying the people that are like, hey, Patty, you want to go shoot guns this weekend?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And you're like, hey, we go to the range, and they have them in their cases.
And they do it very responsibly,
and they're like, hey, and then Patrick, hey, make sure. And then if you put your finger near the trigger, they're like, whoa, hey, bro, don't point it down. So I'm used to that because that's how everyone I know does it. And so when you have the other stuff, you're like, I was taught this is like expressly not the way to do this.
He should do a 60 Minutes with they need to go to a gun range. And so everybody needs to know that Ja Morant knows how to handle a firearm responsibly. No, I'm serious. And the whole piece is about him. He can break it down. He can take the gun apart, clean it, so we can know, like, no, he actually knows how to operate a firearm responsibly. He's not just buying a firearm so he can show it off in Instagram live videos. No, he's an enthusiast. He cares about, gun rights, and he cares about people being responsible with gun ownership, all that kind of stuff. Because it's just the perception is, He just has a gun on him, and he's being irresponsible about the way he uses and brandishes the firearm.
Yeah, I do really want a video of like that, but I just want it when he shoots it the first time. Like, wow, that's loud. You're like, you never shot one?
or he like drops out of his hand or something. The recoil throws it back or something. Yeah, that would be hilarious. But I don't know, because you're right. That's the perception. Perception is he's irresponsible with firearms. And basically all we've seen is videos of him with a firearm. We don't know he's irresponsible. That's the conclusion that we jump to. And his public relations people need to come out there and go, no, he's an enthusiast. Oh, no, he goes to the range all the time.
Yeah, they were just going to the range at night.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay, so we'll get to the Monty Williams story a little bit later on. We got the flex on the other side right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104 down the horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about Dr. Greg Eckert and his all-star team, because whether you have concerns about your dental health, your dental hygiene, maybe you need your checkup because it's been a while since you've been to the dentist, our good friends over Dr. Eckert can handle anything that has to do with your general dentistry, teeth whitening, dentures, porcelain crowns, veneers, dental implants, full mouth reconstruction, even root canal therapy, whatever it takes to ensure you're getting the best quality dental care available. That's what Dr. Greg Eckert and his all-star team are all about. As a matter of fact, Dr. Greg Eckert always on the cutting edge of the technological advances in dentistry, and right now he can give you a brand new smile in just one day, permanently secured to your dental implants. No time spent without teeth. You get temporary fixtures until they complete your permanent smile, and you'll smile again with confidence and eat freely without pain or discomfort. We're talking about a lifelike permanent solution. So if you've been told your teeth need to be replaced, call Dr. Greg Eckert today to learn about this revolutionary alternative to dentures. We're talking about a brand new smile in just one day. Sounds too too good to be true. Nope, it's just Dr. You. Give him a call, 512-345-3166. It's a complimentary consultation. You got nothing to lose but everything to gain because he knows the quality of your smile can truly affect the quality of your life. 512-345-3166 or visit dreckert.com, DRUECKERT.com. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have had a tough weekend. Not a tough weekend, maybe a tough start to the weekend for Texas baseball, but they win the series over San Jose State. Had a texter here said from what they know about the breakdown, Texas has to sweep West Virginia, that series, Texas baseball, series starting Thursday. They need Oklahoma State to drop 2 or more to Oklahoma. That's the help they need to try.
I believe we're 3 games behind West Virginia right now, so
okay,
we have to sweep that series. Again, you gotta mow your own lawn before you complain about the neighbors, right? So you gotta sweep West Virginia before anything matters, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. We don't need to worry about what Oklahoma State's doing or Oklahoma doing until we take care of business. So you got to break out the brooms versus West Virginia. That series will start on Thursday, but the Longhorns did outscore San Jose, I think 42-9, if I'm not mistaken, over the last 2 games of that series. So Phenomenal run. All right, go check out FLXATX.com, FLXATX on all of your social media platforms. They got some great stuff up there for you. Hey, they also have the tournament schedule for 7-on-7 that's starting up, I believe, next week. It's starting up. So 7-on-7 tournament schedule stuff is up there for you too. So that's pretty cool. That actually was something that we got a chance to participate in. Was it last season of 7-on-7, and it was really cool to get a chance to get some eyes on all those really good prospects. So I think May 20th is the actual date of the start of the 7-on-7 qualifying tournament. We'll be giving some details about that as time goes on, but those details are at FLXATX.com. All right, we come back. We'll get into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets. Dan Quinn clarifying Michael Parsons' comments, and Cowboys should consider this running back on the trade market. We'll get to all of those stories and more right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. My man Patrick playing jams intended to soothe the tortured soul of some sports fans out there who may have had a tough weekend. Also, you can hit us up. Let us know if you had a tough weekend. Hopefully, you had a great Mother's Day weekend. 512-337-3776. That's the number to the Specs text line. Also, can hit us up via Twitter. I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. My man Patrick Davis at It's Patrick Davis. My man Harge is out personal day, but you can cyberstalk him at Hardball Harge. He'll be back tomorrow. We'll get into some NFL news, notes, and nuggets here in this segment. I want to talk about the Cowboys. A couple of stories related to the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb throwing out some very high expectations for the Cowboys. Also, Dan Quinn saying the record straight about those comments from Micah Parsons, which everybody was really, really excited about. And a running back that the Cowboys should definitely have their eye on. So we'll get to all of those stories here in just a second. Okay. But coming up next segment, I want to get into we'll get into some undrafted free agents. And I know it sounds like, undrafted free agents, who cares about undrafted free agents? I'll tell you why you should care about undrafted free agents. We'll get into that. We usually have Harsh Knock Live coming up next segment. That's what we'll do for Harsh Knock Live. We'll get into Cowboys and Texans, undrafted free agents. I'll tell you why you should care, why it matters, and I'll heap some praise on the Cowboys. I'll give the Cowboys a lot of props for what they've done in undrafted free agencies. We'll do that coming up next segment, continue our NFL discussion. Let's talk about Dan Quinn and what he had to say to clarify the comments of one Micah Parsons. So Micah Parsons got everybody excited when he revealed that he was going to move full-time to defensive end. And remember, we talked about, had the conversation that basically he was already kind of a full-time defensive end. They hadn't labeled him full-time defensive end. But if you look at the snap count in 2022, 170 total snaps at off-ball linebackers, 693 at DN. Weeks 11 through 18, he had less than 20 snaps at off-ball linebacker. So they had been transitioning him slowly to playing more and more defensive end. By the way, those numbers came from Next Gen. Then Pro Football Focus has different stats. They have him with 195 off-ball linebacker snaps, so maybe a little bit more than the 170. And I guess that may depend on, because sometimes they'll spin him down. They'll spin him down, and sometimes they'll blitz him. So depending on if they decide this guy's on the line or off the line, everybody's got different stats. Algorithms are a little bit different. But either way, he had already been transitioning to defensive end full-time. They just hadn't said it. And I figured, and remember, my take was, I understand why they're doing it, because if he plays full-time defensive end, he could easily become the best pass rusher in the NFL. I mean, he's got 26.5 sacks in his first 2 years, and that's spending, fewer snaps than most elite pass rushers at the defensive end spot. So I understood the mindset of them doing it, but Kim Kardashian, Nicki Minaj, Serena Williams size, Cardi B size, Megan Thee Stallion size, but I have on this show championed Dan Quinn, all right, as a football theorist who is a pioneer of positionless football in the NFL right now, and how much he loves it, and how much he goes out of his way to acquire players who have a very versatile skill set, a hybridized skill set. He got another one with DeMarvio and Overshawn, and I said on the show, even if you're going to do it, why tell everybody? Even if you're going to do it, okay, do it. Why are we revealing this information? Doesn't make any sense to reveal it. But even then, revealing it, I still wouldn't have, if I was Dan Quinn, I wouldn't have pigeonholed him to say, no, he's a full-time defensive end. When in some games, matchup-wise, it just may be advantageous to move him around the chessboard. Here's Dan Quinn. He says, when they were asking him about the Micah Parsons position switch, he says basically that, quote, he is a pass-rushing linebacker. He says, 100%, he's a pass-rushing linebacker. So if you ever need position changes, come to me, not through any of the guys. I think what he was probably trying to say is, I'm really emphasizing some pass rush into my offseason. There you go, Patrick. He wants you to emphasize pass rushing techniques in the offseason, but, man, you're a pass rushing linebacker.
Yeah.
How you like that? What do you think that Micah just prematurely spilled the beans, or was this part of the plan and Micah just revealed the plan and he's wasn't supposed to reveal the plan?
I think Micah wants to be a defensive end.
Okay.
And so he's manifesting into his own world. Hey man, I don't like playing linebacker. I hate run. I hate trying to chase down running backs. I hate doing all this. I really like rushing the quarterback. Man, go play a video game and tell me what position is the most fun to play on defense. And I'll tell you right now, it's defensive end, because you know what you're doing every play. You don't really have to read as much. You don't have to do as much. You just go, I'm going to try and kill this one guy. So it makes sense why he wants to do it. And so he's working on that area of his game, and he's saying, look, that's what I love to do. I want to do that more and more, and I'm going to be the most impressive defensive end out there. And then Dan Quinn goes, that's cool, but as we've talked about with multiple coaches, even on today's show, there is a chess match within the game.
Yep.
And if they go, hey, man, they figured out how to stop you at that DN position right now, I'm not going to just keep running you into a brick wall, so we have to move you around because you are too valuable for us to use and once they figure out a stop for you.
Ding, 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 ding.
So in the chess match of the game, I'm not going to sacrifice the Cowboys season so you can be a full-time DB.
For a label.
So if you need to step out and be linebacker, and if we need to put D. Williams in to sit there so he hits the gap first and you come in after him like a wrecking ball, we may do things like that. Or if we have to over Sean on the side and then you two switch positions real quick and no one knows what's happening, and you're still pass rushing and you're still doing stuff like this, we're just not putting you in the label of you're going to sit on this every single play.
Yeah, what if they have what if their running backs are poor in pass protection?
Yeah.
You figure, all right, so if I blitz him off the B gap, I can get him matched up on a poor pass protection running back every down, every passing down. Well, I'd rather you do that. Let's work smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
So I'm glad this is made me more of a Dan Quinn fan. Now, I'm glad he came out publicly and said it, because for me, I didn't know why they spilled the beans anyway, but I could understand maybe he's just really excited. They told him he's going to be, a pass rushing, he's basically going to be a pass rushing specialist now for them. That's probably what they told him. So go work on your pass rushing moves, man. And he probably was a little too forthcoming with the media about it. He probably should have kept that to himself. And I do think Dan Quinn wants to use him as a versatile weapon, but just as we just talked about, moving around the chessboard to an advantageous matchup. But I think the numbers of him playing off-ball linebacker will continue to shrink. Yeah, they will. But now they'll be really, really specific. Game situations where he's playing that position for a reason. Most of the time, of course, like the last few years, at least a couple of years, I should say, he'll be at DN. Here's something.
And let's also, if you look at awards for the defense, they normally go to DNs, not linebackers.
They do.
And if you want to look at who gets the highest money, it's DNs, not linebackers. There's a lot of reasons why you like to be labeled as a defensive end, not a linebacker, especially if you're playing most of your snaps at DN. I get why you'd like the label to change just semantically.
But if you are a defense, but I think Dan
Quinn's right, because he goes, dude, we want to win games.
Yes.
That is the main thing, and we need you not to say those things. But you know what? Say it. Go ahead, because I'm going to play you where I want to play anyway.
That is probably true. Now he wants him and Micah to be cool, and I might remember Micah loves Dan Quinn. Remember when they drafted and honestly, if you listen to the audio, Micah Parsons claims he told Dan Quinn to draft Mazi Smith. So they're really close, but you definitely don't want, you don't want to be forcing someone to play a position they don't want to play. Or make sure, remember the Deebo Samuel, Kyle Shanahan thing? If you're going to play them in a position they don't want to play, remember the whole point, at least one of the debates was he didn't want to play running back as much. He wanted fewer running back snaps.
Yeah.
And when they made him one of the highest paid receivers in the league, he decided, all right, you can use me how you want to use me.
Yeah.
Same thing with Micah. I think your point is astute. That Micah and maybe Micah's agent are telling him, dude, you need to be playing defensive end.
Yeah.
That needs to be the narrative out there. Use the media. The media will help you here, because when we start negotiating a contract, we're going to need the media to help us with too. And we need you to be paid like the highest defensive end and the highest paid player on defense in the history of the NFL.
If we want to win Defensive Player of the Year, that's going to help us get a bigger contract.
Yes.
The linebackers don't win Defensive Player of the Year a lot of times.
And this
rushing defensive ends do.
And this is what I'll say about Dan Quinn. And this is why I think Dan Quinn still needs to be bullish on using Micah as a positionless, versatile chess piece. The Cowboys, they are the first team in the history of the NFL to lead the NFL in forced turnovers in back-to-back years since the Steel Curtain Steelers did it in the early 70s, 72. They did it 72, 73, 74. So the Cowboys are the first team to lead the NFL in takeaways in back-to-back seasons since the Steel Curtain. Now, the Steel Curtain was revolutionary for a lot of reasons, a lot of things that the Steel Curtain was doing. But the Cowboys, one of the ways that I think they force a lot of turnovers is they get a lot of interceptions. And the reason they get a lot of interceptions lately is their ability to disguise coverages. And they disguise coverages really well because they use 3 safeties with basically big nickels, big dimes, probably 40% of the time. And those packages allow Dan Quinn to move his different pieces around the chessboard, making it really tough for opposing quarterbacks to decipher pre-snap what the defense is doing, and then post-snap have that matchup and track with your pre-snap diagnosis. It's tough against a Dan Quinn defense because he's got all these pieces that can move around. You got safeties that can be in the box. They could drop deep. They could end up playing man-to-man. They can end up blitzing. All these versatile pieces, and Micah's one of them too. So I think that's a part of what's made their defense so unique and so opportunistic. And their interception numbers have gone through the roof since Dan Quinn's been there. And a lot of it is the disguise. The quarterbacks don't figure out quick enough, and by the time they figure it out, ball is already gone. Too late. So I think that's part of it too. Is schematically it does, and strategically it does matter to be versatile and have a hybrid like Micah Parsons. Okay. Oh, actually, do we have audio of this Andrew Whitworth sound here? Because people saw the video last week of Micah working at the Collective, the gym here in Austin, and working with Andrew Whitworth, the tackle for the LA Rams for years. He's retired now. And people wondered, like, man, that's a kind of a weird relationship. Maybe he was just working out at the gym too. Turns out, no, he and Micah have become really close, and he basically was summoned by Micah so that Micah could improve his skills as a pass rusher. Here's the breakdown on the Rich Eisen show.
I just came down from Austin, Texas. I was down there in Austin getting a chance to go be around Micah Parsons for a few days, and we had a chance to work together. And this game right here is one of the ones I was excited about because, Seahawks had some really good young tackles last year in Lucas and Cross. And so, I think Charles Cross showed that he could be a left tackle to look at for the future as a really good player and a great pick for the Seahawks. And he's going to have his hands full with a guy like Micah Parsons for sure. So it was really fun to get down there. You don't think of an O lineman and a D lineman working together, but it was fun for me.
Well, I mean, TJ, this one's for you.
Okay.
Why did you go? Tell everyone how you
wound
up going there.
Micah and I have kind of kept up with each other over the last couple of years. Once he got in the league, we had a inter squad practice and stuff with inter squad practice, and when I was with the Rams, with the Cowboys, went over to Oxnard, and I got to go against him some when he was a young rookie, just and that kind of stuff. So
when he had yet to even take a snap in the league.
Yeah, and so he had a rush or two that we went against each other, and really nothing to the play, but just afterwards I kind of shared some feedback with him. And so, over the years we just kind of text here, there, or tweet, something, DM or something each other, like different things. And he reached out this offseason and said, man, would you have any interest in coming down where I train and working with me? And just, obviously you're going to have D-line coaches, you're going to have things you're going to learn from edge rush guys that you've been around. He's like, but I have the mentality, I want to practice against somebody who's really elite at being my opponent. And I want to get what's that feedback from that person, and why would he shoot his hands on this player? Why would he jump me in this scenario? So we watched a lot of tape of situational football, 3-step, 5-step, drop, the different drops quarterbacks take, and why the tackle takes a certain set or uses his hands a certain way. And it was really fun. It was really igniting for me. I was telling Sean McVay last night when I was coming back, like I was full sweat. I feel like I'm coaching out there, just having fun, getting excited, just talking ball, man. I love this game. It's changed my life, and I look forward to seeing how it changes other guys' lives. So to get to be a part of somebody like Micah Parsons' journey and just do something to help him in any way I can, it was fun for me.
How about the Lion, TJ? Huh?
I mean,
as he likes to refer to him, he's the Lion.
I love this dude, man.
It's rare. It's rare to think that that's the way he thinks. Like, hey, I don't want to just listen to guys who've done what I do.
Right.
I want to know what the guy who goes against me does. And I think that that's really cool to think that his mind thinks that way. Like, always trying to find another edge, another thing that can make me elite and great.
I love that sound. As a player, one of my biggest advantages and one of the biggest factors in improving my football IQ, football intellect, some of my best friends in the world were offensive guys. Like the Wood, they're all offensive guys. Chris Sims, Bo Scaife, Montrell Flowers, Kyle Shanahan, all offensive guys. I hung around nothing but offensive guys most of college. I hung around DBs too in DBU. That was my crew, my clique. Love DBU. But my closest friends my closest social circle were all offensive guys, and starting quarterback, which is now and now a head coach in the NFL. Another one that played in the NFL for years. My man Trail was a wide receiver, so I could talk about wide receiver routes with him and what routes and during different situations and the route tree and the technique to running different routes. Oh, it was. And now looking back on it, it just fed my football IQ. And I learned so much in terms of how to read the route tree, how to understand body language. Love the quote that I got from Shannon. Body language doesn't whisper, it screams. Watching the body language will tell you everything. Every sport, we have to defend somebody. Body language is everything. Body language is most of it. And it's some guys can't read body language. They don't even know what you're talking about. And then some guys, they go, oh yeah, I read that all the time. And I talk to young DBs all the time, and I go, you read body language? They go, some go, oh? They get that dog look on, like, whoop. The head turns to the side. What do you mean read body language? You don't read body language? What do you after the initial release from the line of scrimmage? Hell, most of what you're reading is body language. You can be a football investigator and understand the situation, your alignment, your assignment, but then there's a certain sequence after the release from the line of scrimmage where body language is all you read. Sauce Gardner, I was listening to him talk, who's probably the best corner in the NFL, and he brought up body language. They were asking him about his technique. He was like, yeah, and I'm really good at reading body language. Body language. They don't talk about it enough when they're talking about DBs and technique. It's one of those very nuanced things. But either way, that was something that really improved my football IQ. It's one of the reasons I can come over and talk football with you guys the way I do. And Bill Belichick famously would have his players switch meeting rooms. There are times players from defense would go to the offensive meeting room because it does help to know how the opponent wants to attack you and how they want to exploit you. What all the different situations, the down, the distance, what it means to them as opposed to what you're reading pre-snap, what they are reading pre-snap. That's why I love coaches. I call it the Belichickian theory. I love coaches who have an expertise in more than one phase of the game. Most coaches, their entire careers, they come up, learning just one phase of the game, even though there are three. And I love some coaches who divert from that, and they end up being a coach that can coach at a higher level in more than one phase of the game, whether it be special teams and defense or defense and offense. And those are the coaches who I think, in my opinion, the ones I would prefer if I was hiring a coach. But anyway, I love that.
Wasn't there a story about DeMeco Ryans having that conversation with Matt Schaub at a point?
Yes.
Where he was tipping something, and he was like, oh, I was talking about a white, because DeMeco Ryans is a guy who wants to learn from the other side as well. Wants to know why. But he was like, why do you do that thing? And he's like, what?
Yeah. No, I didn't remember my shop said he got annoyed by it.
Yeah.
Because he gave him too much information. And in practice, he was learning actually what they would be doing pre-snap, and he's like reading all the keys. He was a great football investigator. If you really want to learn the game, you got to go to both sides of it. You got to learn the other side of whatever position you're going up against. So I love that. That's why Micah Parsons this year, he's the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year. I'd put my money on him. I really would. I think this year he could go. They could weaponize him this year in a different way than they've ever have.
Yeah, I think especially when you talk about the additions in the offseason of Mozzie Smith and Overshawn, and then you have another year of Sam Williams that is there who put in some good snaps last year, but another season of him. I think there's a lot of guys to kind of help take the pressure, where the more pressure you can apply in other places, and the more if you get Gilmore helps out in the secondary. Gives you another, 0.5 seconds to get to the quarterback?
Yep.
How many more sacks do you get? Like those types of things, all the little help they've put together in this defense is only going to help him achieve more.
I know. I mean, the Cowboys, they had the highest pressure rate in the NFL last year. So you're just trying to turn more of those, or at least Micah Parsons, I should say, had the highest pressure rate in the NFL last year, and the Cowboys were top 5 as a team.
Yeah, that's what you want Gilmore's to help change those pressures into sacks.
No, you're right about that. And the truth is, I think the Cowboys they've had an epiphany. I remember asking Goose Goslin this when Harge had him on the show for Harge Knock Life, and I said, listen, as a football theorist, just me watching the Cowboys, which I do as a quasi-Cowboys fan, there are 2 ways to win a Super Bowl. From my research, you either have an elite quarterback or an elite pass rush / elite defense, however you want to describe it. And the Cowboys are closer to the latter than they are to the former. And I love me some Dak Prescott. And he agreed. He said, yeah. I agree. And that was probably 2 years ago. Now the Cowboys, the moves they've made, Mike McCarthy's saying he wants to run the ball more, seeing what Dan Quinn's defense has done, leading the NFL in forced turnovers, takeaways the last back-to-back years, first defense since the Steel Curtain. Yes, fun fact, the Texas says the Steel Curtain was responsible for 4 Super Bowls in those back-to-back years. Yeah, I get it. Trust me, I know the Steel Curtain was the Steel Curtain for a reason, but I'm just saying Dan Quinn's doing his part of it. And I think that they are now starting to lean on their defense. That's why I think they want to run the ball more. And even though they were scoring a lot of points, they were losing crucial games. They believe their defense actually is the identity of the team. That should be where they hang their hat, not with their offense. And lately, it's been their offense where they've been going all in on the offensive side of the ball. And I think Dan Quinn has changed that philosophy for them. So they want to zig a little bit while everybody else is zagging. And, maybe when you're going up against San Fran, you keep hitting that brick wall every time. Maybe it doesn't, hurt to switch up the hustle, to change it up a little bit if you're the Cowboys. Okay, other Cowboys news. That's one other story that I want to get to about the Cowboys. We'll table that conversation for the 6 o'clock because there is conversation out there that the Cowboys may be open to trading for this particular running back, one of the last, I think, options out there to upgrade the running back position for the Cowboys. We'll get into that in the top of the 6 o'clock. Coming back, we'll get into undrafted free agents. I'll tell you why they matter. And I'll tell you why, if you're a Cowboys fan, you should be proud of your Cowboys when it comes to undrafted free agency. Turns out, nobody in the NFL does it better. We'll come back and discuss it right here on Ball Don't Lie on 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Austin is a beautiful city. We all know that. That's why we live here in Austin. That's why it has such a unique aesthetic appeal that people are drawn to. And thanks in no small part to our good friends over at Skilled Craftsmanship of Ironworkers Local 482. They've been helping shape this great city since 1935. You see the labors of their love all over this great city in iconic landmarks like DKR Stadium, Independent Backer Bridge. And as the city continues to grow and thrive, so do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. They don't go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting new career and you want something new, something fresh, and you want to challenge yourself, how about becoming a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and accepting the challenge of becoming the best version of yourself while helping shape Austin's economic development? Right now, they're hiring over 3,000 people for a huge project right now in Central Texas, and you can become a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. Maximize your potential today and be your best self. Simply apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday when Patrick plays jams intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans out there. Let's talk about undrafted free agents. Most people don't give a damn about undrafted free agents, but you should, because basically undrafted free agents make up a third of NFL rosters. Yeah. If you go look at undrafted free agents, just on average over the last probably 5-6 years or so, there are more undrafted players on NFL rosters than there are players who were drafted in rounds 4 through 7 combined. So the NFL, they put a lot of money into being able to evaluate prospects and still ends up being 50-50 shot most of the time. I mean, it's just a coin toss most of the time. Some are better at it than others. But the Cowboys are they're one of the best, if not the best, in being able to find those rare gems in undrafted free agency. There's a guy named Thor Nystrom. He gives a lot of credit because he actually was one of the first people that I see that started ranking undrafted free agents and ranking undrafted free agent classes based on his overall rankings of the prospects. And so prospects that were expected to get drafted that weren't drafted pretty high up on his undrafted free agency list, and then kind of works like that, so on and so on. And as teams acquire undrafted free agents, he'll rank their free agency class. And he's been doing this for about 5 years. And the Cowboys signed 13 undrafted free agents this cycle. Texans ended up signing, I believe it was 9 undrafted free agents this cycle. Now, think of undrafted free agents like a penny stock, right? Undrafted free agents, they're basically, penny stocks are traded for less than like $1 per share or whatever it is. I don't know what the updated stuff is, but, it's pretty cheap, all right? Your penny shares, but higher level of volatility, higher potential reward, right? Higher level of inherent risk, but you get a lot of return on that investment. And for the undrafted free agents in the NFL, teams, they covet them because if you can find a diamond in the rough, there's probably no better value in all of the NFL. Think about it. Drafted players, you got to pay for that value. You pay draft capital. And based on where they're slotted, you're going to end up paying them through their contract. I mean, obviously, they're slotted at a certain point in the draft or a certain place in the draft, and they're paid, all right, based on where they're slotted in the draft. And more guaranteed money attached to players who are drafted as opposed to players who are not drafted. Obviously, later you're drafted, the fewer guaranteed dollars that are attached to you. So teams love to hit on these penny stocks. And if you look at the Dallas Cowboys and the ranking that the Dallas Cowboys have based on Thor Nystrom's rankings over the last 5 years, going all the way back to 2019 now, Cowboys were number 9 in their undrafted free agency class rankings in 2019. 2020, number 1. 2021, number 2. 2023, number 1. And 2023, number 3. They've been top 3 in 4 out of the last 5 years and top 10 every year in the undrafted free agency rankings by Thor Nystrom. And when you think about it, it does make sense. You go Terrence Steele's an undrafted free agent. Lyle Collins was an undrafted free agent for the Cowboys. I mean, they've found some really good players. I mean, guys who become starters for them via undrafted free agency. And that's rare in the NFL to find an undrafted free agent that becomes a starter for you. And you can probably point out 3 or 4 examples of it in recent years just with the Cowboys. So they're really good at finding value. And we know, Cap Boy, they love to find value, right? Notoriously, Cowboys complain that the Cowboys have been a little cheap recently, right? They don't like going after free agents in the free agency pool. Why? Because free agents are notoriously overpriced if you're comparing them to the market for specific players at that position. So they don't like to pay market value or even over market value for players. That's what you do in free agency. Where you get the best bang for your buck, the draft. And even better bang for your buck than the draft, undrafted free agency. So the Cowboys are on that end of the spectrum. Undrafted free agency and free agency, they spend more money than any other team in the NFL on undrafted free agents. And they focus on undrafted free agents probably more than most, and they're really effective. As I just told you, 4 out of the last 5 years, they've been top 5, and every year they've been top 10. So the Cowboys, that's why, and recently it's a little surprising that they've gone after players in the trade market. But think about all those players they went after in the trade market recently, or at least not to say all the players, the couple of players they just went after in the trade market. They've been great value pickups. What are you talking about? Brandon Cooks, really cheap because the Texans paid part of that salary. So you got a top-notch receiver on the cheap. What are you talking about? Stephon Gilmore, got him relatively cheap for a top-notch corner. Jonathan Hankins. Didn't they trade for Hankins, I believe, during the season?
Yes.
He was relatively cheap. But the great value pickups, we don't know how Cooks is going to work out, Stephon Gilmore. But the Cowboys are about value, like really, bang for their buck if they're going to make a trade. They don't just make blockbuster trades. And that's why they basically just stay away from free agency totally. I mean, that's why they're the most homegrown team in the NFL. Nobody has built their roster more from the draft and from acquisitions via undrafted free agency than the Cowboys. And they get, like I said, they get good bang for their buck there as opposed to the other end of the spectrum. So getting back to the Cowboys and undrafted free agency, last year I think it was like Marquise Bell was an undrafted free agent from Alec Lindstrom. Remember that center? He's still with the team. He was an undrafted free agent. So they've done really well lately with undrafted free agents. For the Texans on the other end, I mean, the Texans have not done so well with undrafted free agents. In 2019, they were number 12 in undrafted free agency rankings in the NFL. In 2020, they were number 23 in undrafted free agents undrafted free agency rankings in the NFL. This year, in 2020, they were number 23. In 2019, they were number 12. I went back and looked, and I couldn't find the most recent years with them, but I just find 2023. And in 2023, the Texans are ranked 12th in the AFC, 26th overall with the free agents they signed. And if you just want a quick rundown of the ones the Texans signed, Ali Gay from LSU, he's a defensive end. Xavier Valade as a running back. Killian Zaire, who's an offensive tackle. Jarrett Wayne, a wide receiver from Pitt. Tyler Beach, Wisconsin tackle. Jesse Matthews as a wide receiver. Dylan Dethridge. So I really, not that any of those guys stood out to me. I do like some of the guys the Cowboys picked up. The Cowboys may have got the best fullback in the country, potentially, via their undrafted free agency class. It says here, Thor Nystrom says that the Cowboys, I'm still scratching my head over Luepke, who is their Hunter Luepke from North Dakota State. I'm still scratching my head over how he did not get picked. He was this class's premier fullback H-back prospect in a shallow Dallas backfield that doesn't have another player like him. Luepke has a strong shot to make the Week 1 roster and help out on special teams until he's ready for a role with the offense. And we Cowboys want to run the ball more. Probably helps to have a fullback on the roster somewhere. This guy will be cheap, and apparently he was obviously a highly valued undrafted free agent based on these rankings. They also got a tackle, Earl Bostic from Kansas, who actually I'm familiar with because we saw some Kansas this year, a lot of Kansas. It says here the Cowboys walked away from Saturday night undrafted free agent melee with 8 signings, and it said the list is led by Earl Bostic. It said in a shallow offensive tackle class, it was a big surprise that Bostic wasn't drafted. He's a superb athlete, 94th percentile in an NFL frame. The Cowboys won the Saturday night bidding war for him with $220,000 guaranteed. As I said, spend a lot of money on undrafted free agents, but you get way more return on that investment if it works out. And the Cowboys believe that their development, and we've seen it, has been on point lately, and they can turn these guys into some guys who give you valuable reps or to be starters for you one day. And Bostic only allowed 1 sack at Kansas at left tackle in 2022. So the best organizations in the NFL, the best ones in the NFL are usually they're usually good to great and undrafted free agency acquisitions. Very rarely do you see a team that's a bad team, just in terms of their development and acquisition with undrafted free agents, and they end up being one of the better organizations in the NFL. Like Kansas City, based on these recent rankings from Thor Nystrom, they're ranked first in the AFC and 4th overall. Seattle is first in the NFC, and he's got them He's got him first overall, actually, their undrafted free agency class. And we know that John Schneider, one of the better GMs in the NFL. So you look at the top GMs in the league, and I think the Cowboys have a really good GM. No, it's not Jerry. I'm talking about Will McClay more than anything. They will act as their GM. But Jerry Jones, of course, in title is their GM. But Will McClay is one of the best personnel men in the business, and he understands the value of undrafted free agents. And I think of it like, I always give this, this analogy that think of talent acquisition like going to the grocery store, right? You got to go buy groceries, right? Think of it the same way. And talent acquisition can be basically looking at the draft as the best value you can get in talent acquisition overall. So that's like shopping at H-E-B. That's no better deal than shopping at H-E-B. You get coupons there, even right there for you. They got the best prices. Everybody knows H-E-B. Hey, we down with you. Everybody's got their own H-E-B, neighborhood H-E-B, community H-E-B. Best bang for your buck. The free agency, which is a little overpriced, a little overvalued, your free agents are in the free agent market, that's like shopping at Whole Foods. All right? Everybody knows Whole Foods, a little overpriced. But you know what you're getting. All right? There are certain different teams that love free agency, and they always operate in free agency. And there are certain teams that decide to stay away from free agency. I don't shop at Whole Foods very often. So I want people that stay away from free agency. I stay away from Whole Foods. But that's not because I don't like Whole Foods. It's because it's probably a little out of the range of prices that I'm willing to pay.
All right, let me ask you this.
That's about it.
When you're going for undrafted free agents, there's, of course, going to be guys that are at the top of the list for everybody, right? Everybody goes, these guys, we all had them, 7th-round pick or 6th-round pick, and they just didn't, our slot didn't come up. We didn't trade back in and get them. When you're going after them, what's your pitch to a team? Like if you're Kansas City and you're getting them, you clearly can develop and everything else, but there's no guaranteed playing time because you've got a good team. Are you really having to pitch more of, hey, this is a good team, and if you work hard enough, you'll have a practice squad spot, and maybe you can work your way up, versus the Texans who can't get these guys who are in a position where they're like, look, you could be starting for us in 3 weeks if you do well enough. Is there a reason why some of these teams are just better at getting these guys?
I just think they're just better GMs. I mean, it's just that simple. It's like some teams are better and more efficient in the draft than others. I just think some teams are better at some teams prioritize it more, right?
Yeah.
You get what you emphasize. I think some teams, the Cowboys have obviously made it a point of emphasis. They love getting value in the undrafted free agent market, and some teams, they don't have as much success, so they don't value it as much. I think it is one of the most undervalued methods of talent acquisition in the league. To me, there's no better bang for your buck. And because the NFL machine, it misses so often on prospects, you can, like I said, a third of the NFL are undrafted free agents. So there are a ton of really good players who can make rosters and who can be starters for you who are undrafted free agents. And by the way, Texas is a prime example. I mean, Longhorn fans, we know that the undrafted free agent market in the NFL is a lucrative one and a robust one because the 40 acres has essentially been a fire sale. Right? Essentially, the NFL has looked at the University of Texas as one of the best bargains in terms of undrafted free agency acquisitions in the NFL because it's a lot of talent that's got a really high upside that goes underdeveloped. There were 33 Longhorns who played in the NFL last year. 13 of them were undrafted free agents. So it tracks with the number I just gave you. It tracks exactly, and the Longhorns are no different. And the Longhorn, I think, development is getting much better, no doubt. So I do think you'll have a drop in the undrafted free agents that are produced from the 40 acres because now you're turning some of those guys into late round draft picks. Like a guy like Moro Ojimo might not have gotten drafted, a couple of years ago with the talent development at Texas. Give Bo Davis and give Sark some credit. They developed him to the point where a guy like him, guy like Keandre Coburn, they're NFL players who actually got drafted. They're probably undrafted free agents who also can make rosters a couple of years ago, right? And we've seen that here at Texas. So to me, Texas is a great example of the bargain basement kind of value you can get from undrafted free agents because we know these guys are good players, but they go undrafted because either they're undeveloped at the college level or because they're just overlooked from the pro level. And like I said, there's no better value out there. If you look at value of undrafted free agents compared to a strip club, right? Best value in a strip club is still taking your dollar. It's the tip drill. Take your dollar to the stage. You get you 30 seconds to a minute of some attention from the girl on stage. It's a beautiful thing. Still the best value out there, and I hear even with inflation, you can still take a dollar. A dollar is still acceptable. It ain't like the Tooth Fairy, who the inflation just goes up and now it's $5 a tooth. No, I still think you take a dollar to the stage and you'll still be good. That's the best value. That's the draft. Right, that's your NFL draft pretty much. The best value in terms of what you can get, the bang for your buck. And think of free agency. That's like going to make it rain. Right? It's overvalued. You're not getting the most bang for your buck. I see a lot of guys go to the strip club and they make it rain. They just throwing bills on the stage. It's fun. It is a lot of fun. And it's fun to go out there in free agency and be a big spender, but you'll probably regret it later. Like most guys in free agency and like most guys that make it rain, you'll probably regret that later. You're not getting much bang for your buck there. That's a waste of cash, right? And not very good value. That's the word of the day. And if you go look at, the draft, if you will, like I said, that's the best value. But undrafted free agency, think of the trades, because trades another great value. Cowboys are now recognizing that. Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore, that's better value oftentimes than free agency, and it can be as good, if not better, than the draft. The Rams showed you some of that when they were able to win the Super Bowl, and they made a lot of big-time blockbuster trades. The Cowboys getting Brandon Cooks for cheap, getting Stephon Gilmore, that's a great trade. That's like a lap dance. Lap dance, you can negotiate a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know what? 2 songs instead of 1, 2 for 1, whatever you want to do. There's a little negotiation there, so you can kind of negotiate, extract the value out of a situation. But there's still nothing better than undrafted free agency. Think of that as like knowing the stripper or dating a stripper, which I've done. You get free lap dances. That's the best value in the house, and that's undrafted free agency, baby. That's what the Texas Longhorns have been doing for the NFL, giving out free lap dances. Just giving up great talent and guys not getting drafted. Hey, I'm all for free lap dances, but you got to extract the value, and that's what the Cowboys do better than anybody else in the league. Don't get it twisted. They're the best team in the NFL at drafting in the first round, and they're the best team in the NFL at acquiring via undrafted free agency. They just got to put it all together. And as what did Jerry Jones say? The draft is not their problem. Coaching is their problem. He laughed, but he wasn't joking. We'll come right back. This is Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104 Down the Horn. We didn't mention this, but last week it became a story and then kind of died down. And then, I think that it basically just kind of fell to the wayside, basically kind of off the radar over the weekend because all the other stories really kind of overtook it. But the Tom Brady story is really compelling. So it was reported last week via an ESPN report that discussions between Tom Brady and the Raiders have been going on for weeks and could soon be reaching a resolution. It said it's still an extremely sensitive and fluid negotiation. Brady's investment is expected to be passive, making him a limited minority partner. But a source with direct knowledge of the situation says he would not have any operational control or authority over the club in business of football matters. But it has been reported that the Raiders are willing to allow Tom Brady to buy into ownership. Like I said, limited ownership and ownership. If you're Jimmy Garoppolo, you got to be thinking, dude, you couldn't go to any of the other 31 teams would have loved to have you. You got to come to the Las Vegas Raiders where I just came. What? I
mean, he's just going to be hanging out.
Man, Jimmy Garoppolo's like, I can't get away from this guy. You can't keep doing this. Tom Brady. Man, he wanted to be the Jackie Moon of the Miami Dolphins, and then turns out we know how that worked out.
Yeah,
tampering in the kibosh.
I think he's just has made some not great financial decisions, and he knows he's one of those guys that keeps getting into situations where they're like, "Hey, man, this is the best way to make money," and then he did crypto, and when people were like, "Man, this is the best way to make money," and he lost some money, and then what a great way to keep your money is not get divorced, and he got divorced.
Yeah,
and so I think he just had some not great. But being part of ownership in the NFL, one of the best ways to make money. So I think he's trying to make the right decisions monetarily.
Yeah.
And so he's just doing it. And he knows the Raiders because he's got the ties to Dana White and UFC and all those things. I think there's ties there where he knows, hey, I can be a part of this, where I can be kind of a spokesman because no one likes Mark Davis really. So they need some good press.
You're right about that.
And they still have Josh McDaniels who likes me. And so I can kind of come over and hang out, and I'll be more of a face, even though I don't really have any power or any major investment in there. But they just need a guy to be that people like over there.
You're probably right about that. The likability factor. I agree with you on that. And speaking of likability, we know Tom Brady is liked and loved by Patriots fans. Turns out the Eagles-Patriots game, Week 1, the NFL's most expensive ticket right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the average ticket price for that game is $807 according to ESPN. That's for more than any other average ticket price so far of the 2023 season.
Is that in Philly?
I think that is at Patriots. Because I think that's the Tom Brady. They're gonna do a remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of remember when.
Because the Eagles are gonna beat the crap out of the Patriots.
Oh, probably so.
Because we know that Bill Belichick defense has become really good by the end of the year, but usually early in the season they're not great because Bill Belichick's throwing so much stuff at the wall, and then you're playing against a really, really good Philadelphia team. So, and then Mac Jones, we'll see what Bill O'Brien pulls out, but that offense was not great last year, and now you got Bill O'Brien.
Well, at least he's an offensive coordinator.
He does have an offensive coordinator. It's way better.
Coordinating offense.
It's way better, but yeah, I don't know if I have the most amount of faith.
And I think that's why, because from what I understand, Robert Kraft asked him personally to come on out and so that we can celebrate you, Tom Brady, and you're great. It's not you're officially retired. So I think he is pumping this up to be kind of a Tom Brady celebration because maybe he knows that I need the team to be pumped up. Maybe Tom Brady, just his presence alone will bring out the best in this damn team. It worked before. So that's part of it, too. By the way, the second most expensive ticket, Cowboys at 49ers. Average ticket price of $501, apparently, according to ESPN.
Yeah, that one makes more sense. That could be a good game.
We don't even know what the quarterback's going to be for the 49ers. And everybody's like, it's going to be a good game. Because that's how much we trust Kyle Shanahan having a competent offense. Doesn't matter who the hell is going to be quarterback.
Well, the good part is, other than quarterback, the rest of them will be healthy, which we couldn't say a lot last year
Very
either.
true. And they lost their offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and we don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
One of their GM personnels and
exactly. You're right.
Some other guys.
You're right, because they lost to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and then I think the Texans took a couple other guys from them too.
And they still have better odds to win the Super Bowl than the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's how much people trust.
I tell you.
My man Shano. But I don't know. The Cowboys, man, making some moves that I like this offseason. All right, we come back. We'll get into NBA playoff review. Jason Tatum with a performance for the ages. We'll also talk about Monty Williams. Was his firing something that needed to be done for the Phoenix Suns to take their game to a championship level? We'll discuss that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. And actually, the music fits the mood outside, actually. A little overcast. Did have some rain earlier. My man Patrick always DJing. Great job DJing. A Smooth Soul Monday intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have had a tough weekend. All right, we'll get to, speaking of tough weekends, we'll get to reviewing the NBA playoffs. The Celtics with a Game 7 win, and the 76ers, yeah, they're one of those teams having that tough weekend. So if you're a 76ers fan, man, Patrick's trying to soothe your tortured soul. We'll hear from Joel Embiid, speaking of the tortured soul. We'll hear from him. Disappointing performance by Joel Embiid in the loss for the 76ers. We'll also discuss Monty Williams, because he was fired. The Suns decided to make a move to move on from Monty Williams because of their underwhelming performance in the playoffs this year. Hey, man, somebody's got to be a scapegoat. And it seems more and more, Patrick, in the NBA that, you know, the coach is more than likely most of the time is going to be the scapegoat. Yeah. Because you can't get rid of the superstars. Superstars.
Yeah.
They are, I mean, in the NBA, that's how you win championships. And you don't sell merchandise, you don't sell jerseys, you don't put butts in seats, and you don't win games and win championships without superstars. So they're like the quarterbacks in the NFL. They're way more valuable than a head coach, even if he's a good head coach. Or, hell, sometimes even a great one.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense financially. It makes sense in some ways. But Monty Williams, I like this for me is an owner coming in and doing everything wrong to try and fix a problem. Like you know, if you walk into a house and you're a new homeowner and you're like, oh, the toilet's running, and by the end of the day, there's no more toilet, but you don't have anything. There's just running water in a house because you thought you could fix it. That's kind of what I feel like he is starting to go down that path of like, well, the toilet seat's clearly the problem. You're like, well, that's not why it's running. The toilet seat. Get rid of the toilet seat. Get rid of like he's just doing things to do things. And he came in and made the Kevin Durant trade. And you can do that, but he really leveraged the future to go and win it all this year and then didn't do anything else to try and make himself win it all this year. Didn't really play heavy in the buyout market. Didn't play heavy. Didn't try and fix the holes that you created by trading away a Cam Johnson and a Mikal Bridges. You made no effort to fix that. You just said, no, we were a piece away. Kevin Durant's worth 3 really good players. And you went, no, he's not.
It was a savior.
No one is 3 good.
They had the savior complex with him. They assume KD will be the savior. He'll fix all these problems.
But that's always
he'll turn water into wine.
If you are 1 player away and you trade 2 players to get 1 more player, you are not 1 player. Like you didn't fix that 1 player because now you've opened up another problem.
Unless you believe he's a savior. Like I said, it's a savior complex where you believe he's going to walk on water and turn water into wine. He's not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's maybe one guy who you could say might be able to do that would have been Jokic. That he is just shown to be that guy that
and
LeBron
played with. In his prime was that.
Yeah, but LeBron in his prime still needed other players.
Yeah, you do. No.
Well,
he got other players. He's got Devin Booker there, and he's got some other players, but it's not enough.
Jokic is the only guy that has shown that he's done it with guys that no one else thought were going to do anything. And they've turned into much better players this season, which is why we're seeing the impact. But he makes this trade, and then Monty Williams is basically fired as blame for Matt Ishbia pushing through a trade for Kevin Durant. That's why, because they didn't have depth. They were tired. They were not able to make it through to the next round. But that's because the team wasn't a whole team. Plus, he has 2 guys get hurt in the series, and somehow that's all Monty Williams' fault. We're moving on. And now the rumor is that he is working to try and pursue Tyronn Lue, who is the Clippers head coach, which means not only are you going to have to give him a lot more, you're going to have to give him more money than he's making from Steve Ballmer, who's paying him very well, and you're going to have to give compensation to the Clippers to get him for a coach that Ty Lue's a good coach. Monty Williams is a good coach. I don't think it does not put you any closer to a title to make this switch.
I think it's more symptomatic of the culture of the NBA, and I agree with everything you said about the Suns, no question. It's definitely what's going on with Monty Williams. He's just being scapegoated for the boss's mistakes, by the way. Happens at your job, too.
Yep.
And the boss can do that. Hey, got the big bucks, you know what I mean? You can do that. That's the golden rule. The man or woman with the gold, they make the rules. But it is symptomatic of a bigger issue going on in the NBA where essentially coaches are just seen as, at least from the perception of it, they're simply like treated as caretakers. And they're perceived as just being caretakers along for the ride. And they're definitely being scapegoated if there are problems with the chemistry of the team or if the management or executives making bad decisions. You go look at it. Monty Williams now being fired. He's a 2-time coach of the year. So he won coach of the year twice in 4 years and went to an NBA finals. Not enough to get you job security in the NBA. So now both coaches from the 2021 NBA Finals have been fired. That's the first time 2 NBA head coaches were fired within 2 years of a finals appearance, both of them.
Yeah.
That has never happened. And now 3 of the last 4 NBA championship head coaches has also been fired. That goes back to Vogel, Nick Nurse, and Budenholzer. And you go throw, if you throw Ime Udoka in there and Monty Williams now, basically you go look at it, every coach who's been to the finals since 2018, except for Steve Kerr and Eric Spoelstra, have been fired.
And this goes to show you 2 things.
Right? So it's the Suns. They're another example, but it's a bigger issue, and it seems like the easy answer seems to be let's just change coaches.
But it'll also show you what teams are consistently competing, what teams are consistently getting there, and you can go, it's great coaches. It's also consistency in your organization and having a better culture in your organization than an owner who goes, hey, man, if you miss a few shots, you're probably out. Hey, man, I'm the crazy one who's going to walk in the locker room and try and give you a pep talk, even though I've never been close to in your shoes. I'm the one who's going to try and associate and I'll fix everything. They go, you can't fix everything. So stop pretending that you can. Sometimes it's nice to have a good culture and going forward. And look, he may be able to help out, but when you look at how much they gave up to get Kevin Durant, how much it appears that they really don't have many options. You have Chris Paul on a contract that is going to be harder. You're going to have to give up something else to get rid of Chris Paul's contract at this point. And then DeAndre Ayton, who's a good player, but that's probably your only piece you can move to try and make any moves. That's your one guy of value right now.
That's day one. Yeah.
You have no bench players that have any real trade value. You have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, who are your pieces. You can't move Kevin Durant again, because if you move Kevin Durant again, then why'd you give up everything to get him? So you have to now trade DeAndre Ayton and possibly put Chris Paul in there to try and get some terrible contracts back to get another player in, and then hope that you can find some guys for really cheap and find some veterans. But you're also a couple years away from this completely exploding, and that Devin Booker decides, you know what, I hate this place. I'm going to go try and win somewhere. Kevin Durant does what he does and decides he's not happy where he's at. And now he's on the first year of a 4-year contract, so he's kind of stuck unless he demands a trade. But also if Devin Booker says he wants to get out, then that changes everything. This could really blow up that he bought a team and in one season to try and win it completely destroys any future it ever had, because he's got to fix everything right now instead of going to basketball people to make basketball decisions.
Yeah, and it's just weird because firing Monty Williams and then making a move, if it is someone like Tyler, would be more of a lateral move, if that. And this NBA's just head coaching swap reminds me of that show Wife Swap, where they're just switching coaches, and I think for the sake of trying to spark chemistry, not necessarily upgrading at the coaching spot. But yeah, being an NBA coach right now is just really tough. There's no way to really guarantee yourself job security. Even winning doesn't necessarily guarantee job security. Accolades don't. 3 of the last 5 Coach of the Year winners have also lost their jobs. 3 of the past 4 head coaches to win a title have also lost their jobs. So it seems like if you got to make sure the stars are happy, that's your number one objective and priority as a head coach. And that could, hell, man, we know that's tenuous. That could change at any time.
Well, but that's also that's one of
Yeah.
Doc Rivers' best qualities is that he keeps his stars happy, and we see what that does.
And that leads to complacency, which is what the issue the 76ers are having right now.
And we see what Tyronn Lue has done keeping his stars happy in L.A., which is they're happy, they don't play.
That's what I think it's just I don't even know if there's a way to fix it with the NBA culture, because it is the star-driven league. They are the ones who make the moves.
There is, which is you build a culture that when you get young star players, you try to teach them the right way to act as a player. And if you don't have those guys, you try and move around. You make sure to not get a lot of guys like a Dylan Brooks or somebody else who's going to try and come in and big dog a room. You go, hey, everybody's got to find their spots. And we're going to put people in here, and we're going to build a culture of winning. And like Miami, you just build in guys that you go, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to get a star player like Jimmy Butler in Miami who is about winning above all else. Like
Jimmy Butler was not a culture guy, though.
He's
I
not.
know what you're saying. So it's my point is it's really tough. It's
But
not,
he is a culture that fits Miami's
I know, but
culture.
it's much. But you also got a Pat Riley above him and Eric Spoelstra. So you got checks and balances at every level. I think the point is it's just really tough.
It is really tough. Yeah.
There's a Rodney Dangerfield element to NBA head coaches where you get no respect.
Oh, yeah.
Even Eric Spoelstra. At first, he got no respect. Now we're saying Eric Spoelstra's a damn good coach. Top 3 coach in the league. When he had LeBron there, no respect. Everybody treated him like a glorified cheerleader.
Yeah.
Right? He was like, oh, nah, man, he's dating it. I think he was dating a cheerleader or something like that. Anyway, but either way, it's just really, it's really tough perception-wise to get job security as a head coach in the NBA. There are a few guys that can do it, Steve Kerr and Pop, but you're talking about guys who are winning. Basically, multiple championships will guarantee you job security in the NBA.
Not even multiple championships with that team, but as soon as you start losing, you're out. And I don't think Golden State, I think if they blow up this team, Steve Kerr's probably got a 2-year window to win it, like to get back to a finals.
That's crazy.
Before they'll be like, no, Steve Kerr, sorry, you lost it, buddy. It's you.
It's you. Well, that's what people are saying right now to Joel Embiid. They're saying it's you. Can we have this Joel Embiid sound? Because this is the audio that people are referencing in their criticism, Joel Embiid. Well, his criticism, I think, is coming from his performance. He was 5 of 18 in Game 7, 0 of 7 from outside the paint, 0 from outside the paint for 15 points. He and James Harden, very disappointing performance, 9 points for James Harden. He was 3 of 11. Here's Joel Embiid in the post game giving his thoughts.
We got the chance to win, but it's going to take more than us. We all got to look at ourselves. I got to be better, and I will be better. That's what I'm focused on. All of us, we got to, come back and find ways to just keep improving and, help the team. You can't win alone. I can't win alone. Me and James, we just can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. So, we just need everybody to just, try to keep finding ways to get better, and, we'll be fine.
All right. I'll tell you my issue with it, and I'm not as critical as some have been in calling him out about those post-game comments. I think when you are a superstar, and he's an MVP, when you're a superstar, it's pretty simple. And you should tell, if you're a coach, just tell all your superstars this. When we win, it's we. All right? And when we lose, it's me. So when you're on the post game, on the podium, when we lose, take it all. Just take the burden. Say, it's on me. I got to be better. I got to be a better leader. I got to get my guys motivated. I'm the leader of the team. I got to play better. It's on me. And when you lose, just say, hey, man, we played great. We. And I wonder, I haven't watched enough post games, I'll admit, of Joel Embiid, so I don't know. I want to know when they lose, is he a we guy or a me guy? Because if they lose and he's a we guy when they lose and a me guy when they win, that's a problem. That's a problem. As a superstar, you got to be all about we when you win, me when you lose. Be selfish when you lose.
Yep.
Say, now it's about me, man. I got to be better. I mean, I'm a star. I was blessed with a ton of talent. I got to be better. Jason Tatum in Game 7 in the fourth quarter. You got to be better. I'm sure somebody told him. You say you the man. You say you want to be a superstar. You're all NBA. To put the team on your shoulders. Will this team to victory? If you're great, if you're indeed that much of a superstar, you're of that ilk, you can do that. That's what's asked of great superstars in the playoffs. So I think for Joel Embiid, that's the mistake he made, Patrick. He was in that post game. He was a we guy when they lost. Can't be a we guy when you lose if you're a superstar.
No.
You don't get that luxury.
Not when you won MVP this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Not when you campaigned for MVP for the last 3 seasons, and not when you sucked in the playoffs. When you sucked in Game 7, just never made a run. And I get that that blowout happened, it happened. And it was going to be almost impossible to come back when they went on that run.
Third quarter.
That third quarter, you're not that fourth quarter. I get it.
Yeah,
it's not like you're going to put up numbers, but you can't come out and then during that run not get angry. Like you should have gotten 2 fouls there, or at some point you have to, as a leader of this team, take control and get angry. There's videos and highlights from that game when you watch it where Jason Tatum's hitting shots over him and he's just got a hand out. Jason Tatum sinks a 3, and then he just goes, "No, well, I guess he's having a good game.
I'll get him next
Come back
time.
down. And you're like, you can't have that attitude in a Game 7. Like, in a Game 7 to be just, oh, well, that goes, okay, well, I don't think you're ever going to win a championship if you're the best player. And that's the problem is you can't tell me you want to be MVP and not want to be like you have to be the best player in every game. You have to be the best player every game.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And he's got to relish that moment, too. He's got to want it. It's obvious that Jason Tatum wanted it, even when he wasn't playing well. Even when he was playing he was playing like garbage in Game 6 for most of the game. I would say, what did he miss? He missed 14 of his first 15 shots in Game 6. In the fourth quarter, decided, no, this is my moment.
Yeah.
It's still my moment, even though I'm not worthy of the moment right now. It's still my moment.
Yeah.
And I'm with that. Joel Embiid needs to put the team on his shoulders, and we did not see them. You want to see that dog. We talk about that dog mentality. Dog mentality in a loss, it was on me.
No, and I mean, we saw Steph Curry in the game.
Game
Lakers,
7.
Or not, but this game, the game on Friday. Steph Curry in the fourth quarter was the one who was trying to put up shots. He was the one who said, look, no one else is hitting anything. I'm putting this on me. I'm going to try and go superstar mode. It didn't work, but I'll give him credit that he went out and said, look, I get it. No one else is hitting shots. No one else is doing anything. I'm going to try and put everything on my shoulders. Whether it works or it doesn't, he put it on his shoulders and said, I'm the guy. I'm going to try and take over. And we just never saw that with Embiid. Mm-hmm. We never saw him really impose that he is a 7-footer with a big frame and going inside and go, look, I'm going to make them foul me every single play, or I'm going to foul them, but there's going to be contact on every single play, and I'm dunking this ball every time, and I'm getting as close as I can to this bucket. And until the refs until they throw me out of this game, I'm going down fighting.
Yeah, he did not go down fighting.
We saw, hey, man, they're getting kind of bumpy in there. We're starting to get down. I'll shoot some threes. That'll get us back in the game.
You went out with a whimper.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to go out.
And the post game said we, and then your we turned into you and James.
Yeah, I noticed that. He did say me and James. Like, James had 9 points. He was 3 of 11.
Tyrese Maxey had a better series than James Harden.
Yes,
through
he
and
did.
through.
Yeah.
Like, that's the future. Like, that's a guy you should be like, man, look at what Maxey did. He was somebody who was really trying to push for us this series. And, man, if he gets better, and then I can step up in that. But that's not what you did. You threw Maxey under the bus like, man, if that guy wanted to play basketball with us, he needs to put up 75 so we can win a title.
He considers him and James to be, former MVP, But I'm with you. At this time, James I don't know if he's a true number 2 to Joel Embiid on that team. I don't know if he can do that night in and night out. He can do it occasionally.
But and then to put yourself of like, no, the way our team is built, it is me and James have our own locker room. We are the leaders. You can come hang out with us, but the rest of you guys are scrubs who need to be better.
And they were 2-0 without Joel Embiid in the playoffs.
Like that, just that attitude of it's just a really bad attitude.
It was.
And it's one of those things of that's where if you see Doc Rivers not being there, you can go, okay, I understand that as a organization saying, well, something's been cultivated here that we never thought was going to be cultivated in that we now have a superstar
who doesn't want to be totally accountable.
Yeah, and we have a superstar who thinks that he can say the rest of the guys and talk down to the rest of these players. Like, we're never going to win with this.
And Doc Rivers, let's get to it real quick. Doc Rivers, last 5 Game 7s, he's taken L's that he's coached in. He also now 6-10 record in Game 7s. Those 10 losses in Game 7s are the most by any coach in NBA history. 17-33 all time in series clinching situations to close out a series. Those 33 losses are the most in NBA history for any coach in a series clinching situation or coaching in closeout situations. Also, most blown series leads in NBA history. So it would seem, and I bring this up all the time, once is an outlier, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a bit of a pattern, 4 times is a trend, 5 times, that's character. That's who you are. That's who you are.
Yeah.
And this is who Doc Rivers is. So are they going to make a move from Doc Rivers? We did Monty Williams didn't deserve to be fired, but hey, man.
But I mean, now you're saying now Mike Budenholzer's on the market, Monty Williams is on the market.
Hey,
so you have some other guys. But that's a question is who wants to go now, too, where you're like, well, I need to go meet with Embiid beforehand.
Talk to him and see what kind of mindset this superstar has. Because if he's got the wrong mindset, I'll be fired in 2 years anyway.
Yeah, like I don't want to walk in where I got to babysit this guy and then go to the rest of the team where they're – and by the way, every one of our good players, when they get good, is gone. Like, the difference is you have in L.A., Austin Reeves is like, LeBron's been there for me. He's helped me out. I want to play with LeBron. But if Tyrese Maxey's contract comes up and all these other guys' contract come up and they go, dude, he don't want to hang out. He thinks we suck.
That's a great point.
Why am I here? They're offering me money somewhere else. I'll go somewhere else, and I'll go play. But I'll say this before. I think there's a big questions coming up in player options. Draymond Green has like a $28 million player option in Golden State.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And he wants more. He wants more money.
But yeah.
So does he say no and make them negotiate a longer-term deal for him? Does he go somewhere else and get a longer-term deal? Because, again, he may not make 28 next season, but he also understands if I can make 100 over the next 4 seasons or whatever else, that's less money in one season, but I've got it over 4, and it's the NBA, so I'm going to get that money.
You'll get it. It's guaranteed, baby.
Yeah, so even though I'm making 25 next year instead of 28, but I get 4 for 25, then I'll take that all day because that's guaranteed $108 million. So I think that one's a question. And James Harden, I think, is in that same boat. You know, I had a decent enough season this year. People thought I did some things. Do I want to take a player option and not have a long-term deal and bet on myself again? Or do I want that long-term money where I can really coast it in? And let me see if I go down to
himself. I think he's past that age.
I think he should go down to Houston. They should sign him to a 5-year supermax contract.
You want to retire Rocket?
No, I would no, but I want him to give all the money to him and ruin their team.
You
I just want him to ruin their team.
I said he retires. I said he would retire Rocket then gladly.
A couple seasons after he gets a 5-year deal.
I'm with you. I don't think he should bet on himself at this point. He's too inconsistent to bet on himself.
But he's making he's got a $30-something million
player option.
So it's a lot of money to not take, but at the same point, it's guaranteed money. So the difference is 35 next year, do you jump down to 15 or 20 after that or after retire versus do I get a 4 or 5 year deal that's guaranteed money and now that's 120 or $100 million in the bank. It's just a lot more money overall that you're guaranteed. And those long-term deals, and I don't think Philadelphia or Golden State is going to blink on we're going to give you a contract extension before the player option.
I know. I usually take them for show over some mo. That's usually how I used to operate. But hey, you talking about guaranteed money?
Are you talking about former MVP, former defensive player of the year?
I can't talk about that. It's a different situation than mine. But real quick before we go to break here, and we'll get to the Ja Morant story in the 5:45 segment. We'll talk about Ja Morant right after Raj Wrap the Day. Joel Embiid, averaging 33 points per game in the regular season, became the MVP. That number dropped to 23.7 points per game in the playoffs. That is a 9.4 points per game difference. Fewer points per game difference. That's the largest difference by that year's MVP in NBA history. That is a hell of a drop-off for Joel Embiid. To your point, Patrick, he ain't been really showing up the entire playoffs at all. All right, we come back. We asked a question last week about the NFL and the NFL's mission to try to expand the brand of the NFL internationally. One of the great sports mysteries. Why can't the number one television show in America, America's top TV product, which is the NFL, 85 of the top 100 watch shows are NFL programs. Why can't the NFL transition that product to become an international product? Why don't international sports fans like the NFL? Well, we couldn't figure that out, but I did find out part of the NFL's secret plan: candy cigarettes. I'll explain when we come back. Right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my favorite tequila, my go-to tequila. It's Hot Cat Tequila. The cat stands for cinnamon, agave, and tequila. The recipe is just as simple and just as delicious and just as brilliant. Just cinnamon, agave, nectar, and tequila. That's why it's so light. That's why it's so smooth. It's a tequila lover's dream. And if you're not a fan of tequila, well, Hot Cat Tequila is so damn good, it'll turn you into a fan of tequila. As a matter of fact, you ain't even got to like tequila to love Hot Cat Tequila. It'll turn any event into a party, and every party feels like a celebration celebration. So celebrate and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. And once you try Hot Cat, you'll never, ever go back to that old cinnamon whiskey or that cheap tequila you were ordering rounds of when you were just trying to get the party started. Turn up your party with Hot Cat Tequila. Perfect way to pregame for all the big games, concerts, festivals, or any night on the town with family and friends. It's a best served cold for a quick round of shots or to sip on the rocks. So visit cattequila.com. That's cattequila.com to find a store near you that sells Hot Cat Tequila or to find a bar near you that serves Hot Cat Tequila. Toast and turn up with Hot Cat Tequila. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. We were talking last week about the NFL's schedule release and how the NFL is trying to have more of a presence internationally. And I think the international games are in London and in Germany. And one of the big sports mysteries is why the most popular sport in America, the most popular television product in America, has yet to catch on and become or replicate that popularity internationally. And there are a lot of reasons why that hasn't happened. But I was interested in the NFL's mission to spread the game internationally. So I talked to some folks and did some research on my own. And, it makes perfect sense too. And I can't, believe that I didn't see it because it was right there in front of me the whole time. Because the NFL wants to turn their league into, a $20 billion league. And hell, domestic dollars can only get you so far. International dollars, international money, oh man, they'll hit $20 billion, in a couple of years if they can spread this product internationally and grow the brand. The problem is, lately the NFL, not lately, but the NFL's perception that it's a dangerous game, right? The concussion crisis, we've talked about that ad nauseum, and the NFL trying to convince moms to let their sons play football. That's just been, and fewer moms are agreeing to let their sons play football. The Concussion Legacy Foundation, nurse study says since 2016, tackle participation rates for children ages 6 through 12 has decreased by damn near 30%. And even high school tackle football participation has decreased by 12.2%. Not in Texas. We know that. Since 2008. So kids are playing less tackle football, and the NFL's belief is that it's just moms. Moms, they're seeing the game at the highest levels, college and pro, and there's some of them deciding, nah, my kid ain't playing football. He's too small. I don't like it. Play something else. Play baseball. Play something else. Play soccer. Whatever it may be. So the NFL's got a kind of a two-pronged attack here because they do have to battle the perception of a dangerous game, and also, if they don't successfully battle that perception and don't change that narrative, they'll never grow the game internationally. Because the moms that here domestically won't let their kids play, and moms internationally, they're not going to let their kids play either. All right. So I was talking to a friend of mine doing some research, and they didn't lead me to the conclusion. This is me. This is my theory. So I'm not going to say that the NFL's – no, this is my theory about what the NFL's doing. But I think I have some evidence to back it up. See, the NFL – and I said this when they had their Pro Bowl. Remember the Pro Bowl? How they changed the Pro Bowl? They transformed the Pro Bowl into being basically – it's just playground contests and skills contests between players. They're doing dodgeball, punt, passing, kick competitions. They're just playing playground games. And a lot of the parents who watched the Pro Bowl were marking how their kids loved it because the same games they play field day when they're at their elementary schools. Same game. They get to see the best athletes in the world or their favorite football players playing these games. Really fun. And I used to refer to it as the NFL's candy cigarette. Remember candy cigarettes back in the day? Most of y'all maybe too young to remember. Y'all old people, y'all remember candy cigarettes. And it was literally these cigarettes industries that was their attempt to try to engage young smokers. It's another way to put it. Or at least to try to get young people, all right, to get them indoctrinated, if you will, into the culture of smoking. They had candy cigarettes, and I loved them. They were actually pretty damn good back in the day. I used to get like a little pack of candy cigarettes. This was a thing.
Did you pack your candy cigarettes?
Oh, yeah.
You hit them first?
Yeah.
Man, the sugar's not going to be right if you don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. But what was that? That was programming, right? Because you've seen people with cigarettes, seen grown-ups. So you knew how to pack a cigarette like a grown-up. Yep. You got to put it in your mouth when you talk like your grandpa would. And it was so kids could act out the fantasy of smoking. And we'd play cops and robbers. I have a cigarette in my mouth and everything like that. And I didn't think anything was wrong with it, but I smoked cigarettes a little bit when I grew up, and maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it didn't. But that was their way of being able to appeal to young kids and to get them to start the rituals, right, of smoking. And everybody who's been a smoker knows there are rituals to smoking. And the NFL's candy cigarette, meaning their way to approach the younger demographic. Right, and that's what they did with all of those different skills competitions and like I said, there were skills contests and field games that you would play on the playground. NFL's taking the same approach because they believe it might fix the Pro Bowl or at least make the Pro Bowl watchable. They're taking the same approach to spreading the game internationally, I believe. And the candy cigarette is flag football. So think about this, because I've been doing some research on this flag football for the NFL. And these are comments from Troy Vincent, all right, the former NFL All-Pro cornerback and currently executive VP of football operations. He said the future of football is flag. Not meaning professional football, but all indicators suggest and data supports that flag football is the future of football. And what he meant by that is it is destigmatized the game for them a little bit because girls are playing it. And they're letting their little girls play football, but obviously boys are playing it too. The growth of flag football in recent years has been impressive. Flag football is played by more than 20 million people in more than 100 countries. They said, according to the NFL, since 2015, the number of 6 to 12-year-olds playing flag football in the U.S. has increased by 38%. In 2022, you had over 500,000 boys and girls participating in NFL Flag, the youth flag football league sponsored by the NFL. 40% increase from the previous year. But it's the ladies that are driving it. Girls are driving the growth. In the U.S., 500,000 girls aged 6 to 17 play some form of organized flag football. Currently, 7 states, including New York and California, have sanctioned high school girls flag football. And you may think to yourself, that's not going to save football, Rod. They're not going to let them play in the NFL. All right, I get that, genius. But they're going to grow up to be mothers who have a different relationship with the game than the mothers who are deciding to let their kids play now. Right? They're going to know the game more intimately. They played the game. They've got a different relationship with the game than all the moms who have grown up having to have distance from the game, basically being as close as they can be as a cheerleader. That's their relationship with football, instead of having to play it a little bit. And I actually met some of these girls who played the game right here in Westlake. They got girls playing flag football. They said 18 schools. So you're talking about college-level schools now. 18 schools, the NAIA, the National Association for Intercollegiate Athletics, are applying and recruiting women to play flag football. And they said next up is the NCAA, which the NFL is already pushing to sanction flag football. They want it to go all the way up, all right, all the way up to the highest levels. At the international level, and here's the other key. So how you get, how you know, long-term, they're looking at, all right, you know what, we need to change women's relationship with the game. They don't know, they're not in love with the game like the men are. We got to get them closer to the game. They got to fall in love with the game. How you make them fall in love with the game? You got to play the game. It's like, women can't play the game. Yeah, they can. They can play flag football. At the international level, flag football is on pace to overtake tackle football. In Japan, 500,000 children per grade have a chance to play flag football every year. In Mexico, there are 100,000 new flag football players in 2021 alone. In China, 200,000 play flag football in schools. That's important because that is going to lead to them being able to play tackle football later on, or at least desensitizing, all right, the bureaucracy, if you will, to the dangers of football with flag football. And it says here that international competition has grown. National team participation in the International Federation of American Football World Flag Football Championships grew by 61% in the men's competition, 73% in the women's competition. And I'm telling you, it's twofold. It's a two-pronged strategy. The future moms of America will have a different relationship with football than the current moms of America. They'll look at the game differently. Who knows if they'll decide to let their kids play or not, but it's worth a try. And the other strategy is with flag football. Internationally, it's easier for the international community to accept flag football. Rather, it's cheaper, by the way. First of all, it's just cheaper. It's just way easier to play it. Give somebody a flag, no pads. Go out there, take a flag, boom, use your athleticism. It's all good. You may fall in love with the game enough to go, let's try this tackle thing. Let's do it. Immerse the community in it long enough, and they'll go, hell, tackle football is that's the next evolution. That's the next phase for us. But start it out with the candy cigarettes before you start smoking the menthols. So honestly, I like the strategy. I think it's a smart strategy by the NFL. It's two-pronged. And it reminds me a lot, you know, we do this in society where there are social accelerants. Certain aspects of society, you know, can bridge the gap. Certain sociological, you know, movements, societal shifts and you have these issues that were once considered taboo in America, in American society, that are now socially acceptable or more acceptable. And there are things that can desensitize our sentimentality, all right, and allow us to adjust our moral compass and adjust to the social mores as they begin to evolve and change. I'll give you an example. Legalize marijuana. Right, forever, this country, we had this negative stigma about marijuana. In 1970, only 12% of Americans approved of legalized recreational marijuana. Just 12%. By 2021, we were at 91% of Americans approving it. And you know what bridged the gap? Medicinal marijuana. We saw Americans suffering, people in pain, people who needed help. And medicinal marijuana provided that help, and it desensitized a lot of us and destigmatized marijuana in this country. Because it's like, no, people would help me if it's used responsibly. Hey, man, we can enjoy it responsibly. And honestly, I'll say something else. I think it happened with legalized sports betting, happening right now. You know what bridged the gap between the stigma and reputation of legalized sports betting? Oh, it's mob stuff. Oh man, yeah, you can destroy your family. Legalized sports betting. You know what changed it? The NCAA tournament. Your grandma's filled out a bracket. Fantasy sports. Your mama and your daddy drafting. It's just gambling. It allowed us to slowly adjust our moral compass over time instead of shocking our system. And that's always tough. That type of change is really tough for society. I think gay marriage went through the same type of evolution in our society. Hell, 1997, you got 27% of Americans approve of gay marriage, 60, damn near 70% of Americans disapprove of gay marriage. And then by 2021, we're at 70+% that approve of gay marriage. Why? One of the theories out there, one of the working theories, no BS, is Hollywood. Hollywood brought the LGBTQ plus community right into your home. And you most of y'all didn't even have an LGBTQ plus friend in y'all's lives. But, you know, I mean, whether you're talking about Ellen or hell, what is it, Will and Grace, Modern Family. Think about how many of those shows had a member of the LGBTQ plus community in that show. And you went, they're funny. They're cool. Man, that is really cool. I might want to have me a gay friend. That's kind of cool. It's actually kind of fun. You know, it's not bad. It destigmatized the whole thing for Americans. Like, oh, they're just like you and me. It happens with a lot of stuff. And I'm not saying that it always tracks, but I think for the NFL, if they want to expand the sport, first you got to destigmatize it and really uplift the perception, change the narrative of it. And how you do that? Women, baby. Moms. Future of this country. Happy Mother's Day. The NFL trying to win you over. All right, we'll come back. We'll talk about Ja Morant. Speaking of moms, I bet Ja Morant's mom is very upset right now. Right here on Ball Don't Lie, Wonderful Not Known. Okay, yeah, we did forget. Just reminded, as we talk about candy cigarettes, can't forget about Big League Chew.
That stuff was good, though.
It was good, but it still was trying to promote a culture of dipping.
I thought it was to get us to try gum instead of tobacco.
No, I didn't think. I forgot all about the Big League Chew. There you go. Yep. And I buried a lead too. Also, in my last take about Raj around the day, the NFL is also pushing to make flag football an Olympic event. That's like their last coup de grace. They figure if they can do that, then doing that and getting a team overseas, that'll be the first big step.
I'm fine with everything until the Olympic event.
That's what they wanted.
I know, but that's the one where when I have to interview a flag football player adult that's taking it way too seriously. That's when I just can't. You know what I mean?
Can't do it. You can't do it.
That seems a little bit weirder when the guy's like, I had to juke him out. He had to take a hard right there, and then there's a little context. We stopped play. He went over and got his medical care. We got back in the game though, and I just ran a lot.
Are you saying it's going to be the ratio of D-bags in the flag football community is going to rise exponentially if it becomes an Olympic sport?
I think if it becomes an Olympic sport, if you don't like flopping in basketball and soccer, get ready for flag football flopping. I feel like flag football flopping.
Oh, you're right. Ooh.
Will be like if someone accidentally pushes you too hard, flying 7 rows and be like, my sternum, my sternum.
Well, the world's most popular sport, flopping, is an art form.
It is. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's going to be the art form.
Wow. It says the NFL and IFAF's focus now is to get flag football into the Olympic Games. Flag football is, it says, among 9 sports that the International Olympic Committee is considering for inclusion at the next Olympic Games in 2028. Or for the 2028 Games, sorry. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that is, I'm not.
They said they're going to rule on it before the end of 2023.
That seems.
Katie says bubble tape was the snuff. Big League Chew was the job. Big League Chew was the job. Wow. See, there you go.
KD seems like the guy who would have had that figured out.
KD was deep. He
had both. Right pocket, left pocket.
Sometimes KD still goes to get some Big League Chew every now and then. Shout out to my man KD. You're a miss, brother. Yeah, Candy cigs were good. I remember them. They're just a little. You remember how Fun Dip? You know Fun Dip?
Yeah.
The little liquor sticks.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they were. They're just like little liquor sticks. They were fantastic.
Yeah.
Why'd they stop making those? Well,
they're kind of gross.
What? What's gross about it?
Because you had to keep sticking the thing in there and licking it and sticking the thing in there.
Fun Dip is gross.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with that. It's not very sanitary.
Yeah, it's not. And then, you just see a kid and he sets it down. And you're like, well, once you set it down, it's over.
That is true. You got to eat a Fun Dip at the time because really the packaging doesn't allow you to set it down.
Yeah, because the stick's in there.
Stick's in there, man.
And once the stick, you can't close it off.
That's a great point. It does. Yeah. Why not? Why don't they have it where you can reseal the Fun Dip? Because I guess kids, once you go all in, you're going ham.
Why would they want to not sell another thing of Fun Dip right after?
Yeah.
Hey, first one's free, Rod.
I was trying to basically economize my Fun Dip there. Apparently. All right. Good stuff there. We come back. I want to get to Ja Morant, and we'll get to Ja Morant next segment. We'll do Ja Morant, and we'll talk some Cowboys. We'll just kind of do a smorgasbord segment and get back on track here. All that and more right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.9 The Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about my friends over at Ironworkers Local 482. We know this is a beautiful city, Austin, Texas. Is why we all love it. We all call it home. But you may not know that the unique aesthetics of Austin are thanks in no small part to our good friends over at Ironworkers Local 482. The skilled craftsmanship have been helping shape Greater Austin since 1935. You see the labors of their love all over this great city in iconic, exquisite landmarks like DKR Stadium and the Pennybacker Bridge. And as the city continues to grow and thrive, So do our friends over at Ironworkers Local Union 482. They don't go to the office, they build it. So if you're looking for an exciting new career, you're frustrated with your work choices, you want something new, something fresh, something challenging, how about becoming a member of Ironworkers Local 482 and accepting the challenge of becoming the best version of yourself while helping shape our city's economic development? Right now, our friends at Ironworkers Local 482 are hiring 3,000 people. That's right, 3,000 people for a huge project right here in Central Texas. And you can become a member of Ironworkers Local 42 and take pride in the type of teamwork and craftsmanship that helps shape the future of our great city. Maximize your potential and be your best self today. Simply apply at ironworkers482.org. That's ironworkers482.org. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. It is a Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. And the man, Patrick, who is the idealionaire on the show, came up with Smooth Soul Mondays intended to soothe the tortured soul of sports fans who may have had a tough weekend. That was certainly the 76ers over the weekend, who lost Game 7, got an Old Testament-style butt whipping, and lost 112-88 to the Celtics, who are advancing to the Eastern Conference Finals. We talked about that. Matter of fact, we'll get back to some NBA conversation here because Ja Morant has been suspended again. So we'll talk about Ja Morant in suspension, pending an investigation about the latest Instagram Live video that was released or leaked out that did show him brandishing a firearm. I know, it seems like Groundhog Day. Seems like that is a common theme with Ja Morant these days. So we'll get into that story, and we'll also talk some Dallas Cowboys here. Dan Quinn clarified the comments of one Micah Parsons, who right here in Austin at the Collective, where he's training during the offseason, he said that he was moving full-time to defensive end, and looks like Dan Quinn maybe wanted to clarify and may want to specify exactly what Micah Parsons meant by those comments. So we'll talk about that, and we'll also, if we have time, get back to the ranking of the Cowboys and Texans undrafted free agents. And we got into that too. And there's a running back on the trade market that the Cowboys should be pursuing. At least they should be interested in. You can hit us up on the Specs text line 512-337-3776. You also can hit us up via Twitter. My man Patrick at It's Patrick Davis in the Twitterverse. And I'm at Rod Babers in the Twitterverse. My man Harge will be back tomorrow. He's just taking a little personal day, but you can cyber stalk him if you want to at Hardball Harge in the Twitterverse. Texter here says about our conversation regarding candy cigarettes and Big League Chew. And Texter says, the grape flavor, Big League Chew was fire. It was. I actually remember the grape flavor. I do remember this.
Yeah.
The taste stands out.
No, that was the bad part when you had to go get some Big League Chew before a game, and then they didn't have your flavor. You're like, all right, I gotta have it. I'm a Big League Chew addict. I have to have it.
Oh yeah, and remember, I called out my man KD because he texted us and told us that the bubble tape was the snuff and Big League Chew was the chew. And I said he's probably had some Big League Chew probably last week. I was wrong. It wasn't last week. He did say about a month ago. Got some Big League Chew. I know KD very well. Yeah, about a month ago he said, and did point out that the candy dip, like the actual Fun Dip in the Fun Dip candy, you know what? That also, if you're creative enough, that can be seen as something that could be tempting for a duplicitous lifestyle as an adult, if you will. All right, so we're not gonna get into that because I don't want to promote that type of candy because it's still out there for the kids. Candy cigarettes are off the market. We know that. Big League Chew's still out there though. So
Big League Chew's still out there.
I don't know how Big League Chew avoided the political correctness era. I know why the candy cigarettes are gone, because there was a big campaign to remove candy cigarettes from the kind of public, like pop culture, like just a realm period. Like you don't see commercials from cigarettes. You don't hear commercials because they removed that, like literally legally. They can't do that.
I would assume they kept it there because they made a big push in MLB to then make them have either seeds or gum. So, like, they basically...
as a healthy alternative.
Well, they basically were like, you have to stop doing this in the games. You can't have chew in the games anymore. And over a period of time, they just kept giving them seeds and gum. So they were like, well, now you can actually be like the big leaguers who are chewing gum.
The gum. Okay, yeah. It's Big League Chew is now actually Big League Chew.
Yeah.
For the big leaguers. No. It was able to kind of evolve with the times. Candy cigarettes, thank God, they did not. All right, let's get to some NBA action. Let's talk about Ja Morant first, because that's the big story. Ja Morant is once again in hot water, and it looks like this time the Memphis Grizzlies are the team deciding to take action. He appeared in an Instagram Live video, seems to be a theme here, of a friend. And that friend is Devontae Pack. This name has come up a lot. He's actually one of the ones allegedly that was involved in some of the prior incidents with Ja Morant. They're calling him Ja Wick right now too, so he's got a name. Also, you heard of NBA Young Boy? They're calling him NBA Dumb Boy. Ja Morant. He's earning some very disparaging nicknames. But anyway, he appeared on an Instagram Live video where he flashed a gun. It was seen that he flashed a gun, and he has been suspended pending a league review as a result, and that was by the Memphis Grizzlies. Remember that Ja Morant famously has unfortunately gotten himself in trouble as of late. He was suspended a couple of months ago for 8 games because he was seen brandishing a gun in a club. And as a result of that video, that was also, I believe, an Instagram Live video. I don't know. As a result of that, him flashing a gun in the Denver area club. After that incident, he spent time away from the team, was suspended 8 games, and I think it was reported that he sought counseling of some sort as well during that time period. But because of him being suspended those 8 games, remember, he missed out on the All-NBA team, and that cost him about $39 million as a result of not being eligible for the Supermax contract. So he did miss some straight cash homie as a result of that, but because a lot of people believe endorsement money may also be something that is right now an issue for him, because teams may not want to invest in Ja Morant if he doesn't have a cleaner image, if he does have a reputation for being a miscreant or degenerate of some sort, whatever it may be, irresponsible behavior. They may decide to pull endorsement money from him. That has not been reported. That's just what the speculation may be. But he has been suspended as a result. And remember, prior to that incident, the Denver area club incident, he did have a lawsuit against him. He countersued as well with a high school prospect after a fight during a pickup game. It's not clear. That was at Memphis home. It's not clear how involved he was or if he was involved at all.
Yeah.
Because that was could have been just a misunderstanding. His friend Devontae Pack, was allegedly involved in that incident, punching the high schooler. Pack also has been thrown out and banned from Memphis FedEx Forum after he stepped on the court during a game to confront Pacers players. After that game, some of Morant's associates were involved with members of the Pacers traveling party and security in a loading dock area arena, and basically were pointing red lasers out of an SUV at the Pacers personnel. This is well documented, but just pointing out, there have been other incidents that this guy Devontae Pack is involved in. It was his Instagram Live video that ended up showing Ja Morant holding another gun. So there you go. A lot of people are making this political. They're coming at it from a Second Amendment perspective, that because of his Second Amendment rights, he should be able to show a gun wherever he wants to, whenever he wants to, as long as it's within the law, as long as it is within the legal limits. And I'm not disputing that Second Amendment argument, but I do think this is more about marketability for the NBA, and they don't want issues of reckless behavior, or at least the images of what may be perceived as irresponsible behavior, to affect his marketability or their ability to monetize him. You want we talked about moms. You want moms buying his shoes for their kids, his jerseys for their kids, and that means you need to be PG-13 to a certain extent. Disney, think about Disney. We want you to be, we want Disney to be able to market you, pretty much. And right now, with him brandishing guns, there's an appearance of irresponsibility, whether that's true or not.
Yeah, and I mean, it goes into it of all the pieces together that that there's reports of threats and that nature. So then when you have a gun, it goes, well, now, are you threatening people with that gun? Is that a gun for violence now, or is that a gun for protection, or is that a gun for recreational use on a shooting range or hunting? Like, that's where I think the line comes in. If you didn't have the reports of him in a brandishing a gun, and whether that's true or not, allegedly brandishing a gun against someone that they got into a fight at a game, or the lights for the Indiana Pacers, the
red,
the tracking lasers,
red laser lights. Yes, weird.
So all those, like, if you don't have those reports, then it's like, all right, this guy just seems like he's doing something dumb and he wants to be cool and doesn't realize that he's hitting this very niche market of people that he wants to hang out with. But that's not. You're going to lose a lot of money for something that when you're 30, you're going to go, wow, it cost myself millions of dollars for something that now I think is stupid.
It is stupid. I mean, it's stupefying that it keeps happening. So there are two things to me. Number one, why can't we get him away from the social media Instagram Live cameras? Because both of these incidents have been Instagram Live videos.
Because it's all about being cool, and you can't be cool if no one sees you being cool. Being cool in a vacuum doesn't do anything.
That's why I'm not cool.
No, I know. That's why but we're old enough we don't care anymore.
Yeah.
But I get, in his age, he's like, no, I want to be the coolest guy in the league, and I want to be the coolest guy in my group. So I get why you can't do that in a bubble. But at the same point, you have to go, hey, man, I get that. You can be cool as you want and broke. But you can be really, really rich and a little less cool. Just
come on, man. Seriously,
just stop. Just think for a minute.
I'm with. So I would, if he doesn't, I'm sure he does have a publicist and he's got a team around him and everything. We got to get him away from even his friends, Devontae, Pack too. Guys, we need y'all's help to remove cameras from his wherever he is, from his presence, whatever he's doing, even if it's something that's not illegal, whatever. We don't need to have cameras documenting it. Can we just stop that?
But you also remember, he has his dad in sunglasses in the front row of all these games. He didn't come from a family of guys who tell you to be respectful and humble and don't make it about yourself. Because his dad's at the front row of every one of these games, trying to get in the face of people and fight with other players.
Yes, was it Shannon Sharpe or something they got into? Yeah.
And so you can't tell me that because that guy now is saying, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna be a star too. I want to be famous too." You can't have that. It's just
but you can be famous. I think the NBA's concern is because he's got reckless behavior. We all agree with that, but he's haven't been operating outside of the law that often.
Yeah.
It's just bad optics, terrible optics, him being the appearance of irresponsibility.
You're dancing on that line. Whereas, hey, so you're going from, hey, everything's legal to someone's dead. Okay, life's over. Like, you know what I mean? And it's that line where when you're playing with things that are that deadly, you can't just treat it as, oh, no, it's okay, he'll grow out of it. Because if he has an actual loaded gun on him at all times and he's flashing it at all times, that can lead to big things happening and bad things happening.
Yeah, because the perception is, and perception is reality, is that he's an irresponsible gun owner.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I don't know if he's a gun enthusiast or if he's just a gun owner. And there's a difference. I think gun enthusiasts, most of them that I know, they really prioritize gun safety. It is paramount. Every time they're out, they preach it, they emphasize it. Gun safety. You've been out with them. Patrick and I aren't gun enthusiasts, but you go out with them and teach you how to hold the gun, where to fire it, keep a safe distance, these steps to make sure that we're as safe as possible, following all the protocols, checking the clips, all that kind of stuff. And I get it. He needs to, at least perception-wise, put out there, I don't know how you do it, 60 Minutes interview, NBA, TV can do something, ESPN, where he is actually promoting gun safety. Get him out there on a gun rage with somebody from 60 Minutes and have him actually showing people that he knows how to handle firearms responsibly, because that's how you change the narrative. Because the narrative is right now is that, dude, this dude he just pulling out guns all the time, loaded. He has no idea how to handle them. He's being irresponsible. Has he taken a gun safety course? Nobody knows. I'm sure he probably has. It's probably mandatory to get wherever the gun he got it from. And yet people are like, oh, he didn't take a gun safety course. He needs to take one, all right? And he needs to be able to show people the certification. Hey, gun safety course. Matter of fact, I take it every 3 months because I like to brush up on my gun safety, whatever it may be. They need to do that. The fact that they have not done that is crazy. Because as Americans right now, we put a lot of guns on social media, unfortunately. People shooting stuff and brandishing guns, stuff like that. And I know there are now laws and rules that are being enacted by these corporations and by states that you cannot be posting guns on social media like that or shooting on social media, all that kind of stuff. I get it. But Americans, we love guns. Damn, we love our guns. And it's Texas, and we love our guns. Love the Second Amendment. But I do believe that Ja Morant's gun ownership is being questioned because people believe, true or not, that he's an irresponsible gun owner. Because most people say responsible gun owners don't brandish and flash guns like that, the way he is doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe they do. I don't know. I'm just saying the perception is he is irresponsible at handling firearms. He needs to change that perception. And if I was him, go hang out, go NRA, do something. Like, I mean, you're a gun owner. You can just be a gun owner.
Well, but that's part of it too, though. Is that's not what he's trying to.
I know. That's what
put out there, and that's the thing is he's flashing gun signs. And we saw Keyshawn Johnson come out today and say, Keyshawn Johnson basically go, hey, there's people that want to kill him.
Because he's
trying to
on the court.
Appropriate their culture.
Yeah.
And they go, man, you have braces in high school. You cannot be acting like you're us.
That's crazy.
You don't act like you're us.
That's right. That's a violation of the G code right there.
And so that's stuff that you go, hey man, I get it. I get what you want to.
I don't get it.
No, I get that. I get that you're young and you want to be cool and you want to have this image, but he needs somebody around him to give him consequences for his actions and have real talks with him instead of he is a meal ticket for everyone around him.
Then you would think they would value the meal ticket
You
more
would think.
and try to take care of him to make sure that
You would think.
he's making better decisions.
You would think.
You would think. I just think about that story. You're talking about like the hanger-ons, right? The sycophants around him and the crew. And I keep thinking about the greatest crew member ever in an entourage. And it was in Allen Iverson's crew. Allen Iverson famously would have gone dead broke, but didn't. Went damn near dead broke. He had a member of his. Remember, Allen Iverson would go to every city and buy a new pair of clothes, famously.
Yeah.
I'm not making it. He literally would leave. He'd go buy new clothes. Think about how many games you got. 80-some games. Having those damn games, you're on the road or whatever. And he would go buy new clothes in every city. That is a gratuitous and extreme waste of money.
He must have hated playing in San Antonio.
Yeah, he probably bought some nice gear down there. But he had a friend who saw his spending habits, a good friend, a real friend, and said to himself, first of all, I can't talk to him because he's Allen Iverson and he's not going to listen to me.
Yeah.
We tried to tell him stuff like that. He's not going to listen to us. He's riding high right now, and you can't tell him that the money's going to dry up because he's Allen Iverson right now. So he basically stole money from him and stashed it away. He stole money from him and stashed away millions from AI. And when AI went broke, which he inevitably knew would happen, he knew it. He's like, this guy's going to go broke.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I'm watching it. He's going to go
I'm
broke.
seeing money coming in and money going out at the same rate.
Yeah.
And the money's going to stop at some
Exactly.
point. And then that money going out is going to be a real problem.
Keep going. Exactly. And he just stole money from him. And then when AI went broke, which he knew was inevitable, he said, hey, man, just so you know, I hope you're not offended. I've been stashing some money for, and I got a few million of your money ready to go for you as a little stash for you, a little, you know what I mean? A little basic kind of contingency plan and a parachute, and it's exactly how it worked out for him. And I forgot the number. I'll get the number for you, how many millions he stashed for him. But AI, that's a friend. And I don't know if Ja Morant's got somebody around him like that.
No, and again, you hope that his parents are behind the scenes portraying a different image than they're portraying in front of the cameras. You hope that they're trying to have the harder conversations with him and telling him, hey, man, you've worked way too hard. You've overcome so many odds of people not believing in you to throw it away for nothing. For nothing.
To look
because
cool?
This makes you
cool?
$0. This doesn't give you any street cred. It doesn't give you anything. Nobody cares. Honestly, it's going to hurt you winning a championship because I bet you about 50% of the veterans in the league want nothing to do with you right now.
Yeah.
They don't want to be a part of that culture in Memphis. They don't want to be a part of dealing with you coming in the locker room acting like that. And the people that's sides of the people who came from that world and are trying to get away from it. Yeah. And the people who did not come from that world and want no part of it.
Yeah, you don't know no real gangsters because a real gangster will tell you. You don't want that life.
Yeah.
You don't want that life, man.
No. I mean, hey, go ask stuff about Vernon Maxwell back in the day.
Ooh,
and you're like,
Mad Max?
You're like, hey man, it's Ja Morant's got a gun. You're like, well, Vernon Maxwell has a bottle. Yeah. And I'm way more scared of Vernon Maxwell with a bottle.
There are stories in H-Town of Vernon Maxwell on the corner shooting dice in Fifth Ward and with a gun on his hip, ready, like he's ready for something to go down. Like something go down, I'm ready. Like you did not want to mix with Mad Max.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He was about that life.
So that's what I'm saying. There's those guys in the league still, and they don't want to go play with you because they're like, no, man, I'll kill him.
Yeah.
Like he does this to me in the locker room. Like I know I will.
I know the flashing gang signs thing. It's like, dude, like, what? I don't even understand. I really don't understand it. From somebody who's from the hood in H-Town, from that concrete jungle, I can't understand why you would ever want to flash a gang sign when you are not part of that gang.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I'm saying.
That makes you.
I got it because when I was 16, I think I like in my head I was like, oh man, it'll be cool. And then I was like 20, and I was like, wow, I was really dumb when I was 16. Ja Morant's not 16.
No. The old, I don't quote scripture very often on the show, but I think for Ja Morant, it actually applies. What's the old scripture about when I was a child, I did childish things, and now that I'm an adult, all right, I moved on from those childish things. He needs to move on from the childish things.
It is. He's 23 years old. I get it. He is very young. But that's what I'm saying is he has such a bright future ahead of him. He needs, and let's say on the court, he needs to learn to take a little bit less risks. We'll say that as well.
I believe that, yeah.
Because he is taking a lot of risk. But you just need to take your entire life and have somebody have the talk with you. I don't know who it is. It does not appear to be his dad.
I don't know who's close to him that can have that conversation.
I don't know. And you even said in the video, you can see that his buddy pulls it away when he shows a gun.
Devon, you can tell he's like, you can tell he made a mistake. He's like,
but hey, man, all right, how about this? No more Instagram live. Let's do Instagram recorded.
Exactly.
And then when he pulls out a gun, you'd be like, hey, we're not posting it.
Hey, that's the thing. There are steps that can be taken.
This is the most minor step I can give you right now. No, we need a delay in the live. We have a delay here in the radio.
No live rule. No Instagram live rule. There you go. No Instagram live rule. We like you said, we'll record everything and then we'll send it to somebody to make sure that there's nothing inappropriate in the video, and then we'll put it out. Those people exist. They have jobs. Those are people and publicists. They do. That's what they do for a living, and they would gladly do it for somebody worth your overall valuation,
your net worth and your valuation where you
as
can
a player. Like I don't get it, man. It is really one of the stupefying things right now happening in sports. Okay, so the person who saved the money for AI, apparently they call it the Reebok Fund. They had 32. So apparently a person with a firm grip on the situation informed, this is from the story, informed me Iverson has an account worth $32 million, a principal he is prohibited from touching until he's 55. In the meantime, it feeds him $1 million annually. At 45, Iverson is eligible to start drawing, this was from years ago, of course, drawing on an NBA pension, of course, but it did say the $32 million is known as the Reebok Fund among Iverson's friends because the money came from shoe deals they stashed away.
Yeah, that's good friends right there.
It's good friends, dude. They were like, man, I can't talk to him. Can you? No, let's everybody else is stealing from him. Let's steal from him and stash it away.
Let's stash it away.
He ain't gonna notice it.
No, and then at the end of the day, he'll be like, can I get all that? And you're like, no.
No. That's what they did. They're like, no, you can't touch all of it until you're 55. We'll give you $1 million annually. That should be more than enough for you to live on. All right? I might have saved AI's life.
Yeah.
Because AI would definitely be broke without any money at all if not for that. So,
be doing celebrity boxing and stuff like that.
Exactly. Surround yourself with the right people, man. Surround yourself since AI's parachute's $30 million. Yeah, I mean, you got to have good friends around you, though. And Ja does not have good friends around him right now. They're not making good decisions in his best interest. So there you go. Ja Morant, once again, suspended. Yes, I think it's such a good idea for him to show the world that he's a responsible gun owner, though. They got to do that. Whether it be interview, whether it be take out in the gun range, whatever. Start putting videos out you of on the gun range, doing safe gun ownership stuff. Why can't we do that?
Because he doesn't want to be that guy.
He doesn't want to be safe gun ownership guy.
No.
He wants to be gangster. Yes. Gangster Grizzly.
He wants to be. We ain't worried about the West. And then when they go, you ain't worried about you didn't make it out of the first round. You go, I said what I said, but I'm good. You're like, you just say it. Just say it. I sucked.
Man, I know, because Tupac went through this. Tupac's my favorite all-time rapper, but Tupac never had any problem with authorities or cops until he started rapping. Yeah. Like, he actually manifested. He did kind of what Ja Morant doing now. I'm not making this up. It's very similar to what Pac went through. Pac was extremely talented, one of the best, greatest rappers on the planet, and went to theater school. Like, he was with Jada Pinkett in theater school. He was acting. He's doing Shakespeare. And became a rapper, and then got immersed in character because he was a great actor. And got immersed in his character of being a gangster. Even though everybody who grew up with Pac told you he wasn't no gangster. Pac wasn't even close to a gangster. Pac was the one that was reading books and always had a book with him and was always quoting Shakespeare and philosophy. He was one of those guys. And he grew up around all that, but that wasn't really him. Now, that's the difference with him and Ja. Ja actually grew up in the suburbs, so Ja didn't even have that influence. But then when Pac started rapping and hanging around, a lot of the wrong people. All right? He got influenced, and he started believing his own hype. And then became a runaway train after that. And then Pac actually did have charges for shooting cops and doing all kind of crazy stuff, and he got shot, and he manifested it. And like I said, before he started rapping, never had any issues. That's Ja right now. And we all know, I love Pac. And some of y'all believe Pac's still alive, but we know how that story ended. And it ended way too early. I'm not saying Ja's on that kind of track. That's gangster rap. This is the only thing other. But, man, you flashing gang signs on a basketball court? What? I mean, what do you realize the type of influence that you have, and now you're flashing gang signs on a basketball court? Are you part of the gang? Then what's the point of flashing the gang sign?
Because you may flash to the wrong person. Well, you don't know.
That gang you're flashing, that they have an opposition.
Well, yeah. By the way, if you're flashing to the gang, you're in trouble. And if you're flashing to the gang's rival, you're in trouble.
So you're in trouble either way because, right, the game.
You guys got to hope that no one's in the game.
The game you're flashing for, they don't want you flashing if you ain't actually paid your dues to get into the game.
Yeah.
And then the opposing team was like, he flashing that, son? We don't even like them dudes. Like, but you got a gun. They got guns too. Everybody got guns.
And you got friends that may not be shooting. You got friends that may be running.
Yeah.
And they don't.
They don't. They got friends on the inside in jail, too. So when they go to jail, they don't care. Because they got friends, they got a gang in jail. You ain't got a gang in jail. You do it by yourself. And then you got to join a gang when you get in jail. Ironically, it comes full circle. You don't want that job.
Don't have that job.
Don't have that job.
Come on, you too good. Too good of a player, man. Fought too hard.
Focus on the jump shot, baby. Focus on the jump shot. All right. We come back. We'll talk about Dan Quinn clarifying Michael Parsons' comments on the other side, and we'll talk a little Cowboys right here on Ball Don't Lie. 104.9 Horn. Hey, what's up, folks? Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers here. Let me tell you about our good friends over at Apple Leasing because they can be your good friends, too. As a matter of fact, you need friends like Apple Leasing. Talked to Scott Crossett a couple of weeks ago, and I just asked him, what's the secret sauce? What's the secret to your business? You've been doing business here in Austin for almost 40 years. How's it been so successful? What's the secret? And he said, really, they're all about making friends. They let the business of cars take care of itself. Once they make friends, once they earn the trust of their customers, they say everything else will take care of itself. And don't you want to buy a car? Don't you want to lease a car from someone that you trust? Well, that's what Apple Leasing is all about. They have the ability to put you in any make or model vehicle that you want. The professionals at Apple Leasing can help you get the price you want, the payment you want, on the car that you want. And all it takes is one phone call, one simple phone call, or a click on Apple Leasing's website, and you'll get a quote on any make or model vehicle that you want. They can even give you an estimate on the value of a trade-in right over the phone. Apple Leasing simple interest easy lease makes life, well, simple because it gives you more flexibility, which is going to give you more possibilities and options to help you find the vehicle that fits you best, but more importantly, the vehicle that fits your budget best. Inflation is through the roof. We all know it. We all feel it. It's never been more expensive to buy a new car, buy a used car, buy anything for that matter. So leasing makes more sense than ever. Give them a call, 512-346-9977. That's 512-346-9977, or visit appleleasing.com. That's appleleasing.com. Welcome back to Ball Don't Lie right here on 104.9 The Horn. Smooth Soul Monday edition of Ball Don't Lie. I want to get to some Cowboys discussion while we have some time. We brought this story up early in the show, but referencing Micah Parsons' comments from a couple of weeks ago, he said that he was basically moving full-time to defensive end. And at the time, I thought, man, it's strange that Micah Parsons would be so forthcoming, so upfront with a change that if they were going to make that change, why let your future opponents know what you're doing? Why not just, gradually during the season have your opponents figure out that he's moved full-time defensive end? Well, Micah Parsons did announce that via the media when he was working out in Austin at the Collective. Well, since Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, has clarified Micah Parsons' comments about him moving full-time to defensive end, saying, quote, yeah, 100% he is a pass-rushing linebacker, okay? So if you ever need position changes, come to me, not through any of the guys. I think what he was probably trying to say is, I'm really emphasizing some pass rush into my offseason. I'm glad that they clarified that. Even at the time, when Micah Parsons made the announcement that he was switching full-time, I believe my exact comments were, why are they telling us? Why not just do it? Why would you tell your opponents you're switching full-time to defensive end? And so now it makes sense that maybe that was a Micah thing and not a Cowboys thing. And the Cowboys are still going to have him predominantly play at the defensive end position or all outside linebacker position. Last year, 195 off-ball linebacker snaps, 859 on the line or at defensive end. So the majority of his snaps have been predominantly at defensive end. But if Dan Quinn's saying he's a pass rushing linebacker, that means Dan Quinn wants to still be able to utilize positionless ideology or positionless philosophy with a guy like Micah Parsons. So I like that Dan Quinn clarified. I think it's good because otherwise the Cowboys are almost handicapping him because there are situationally they're going to be matchup-based games where he may be better utilized or weaponized from the off-ball linebacker spot or, moving him around the front. So I think this tracks with Dan Quinn's philosophy of positionless football. That's his baby. He is a pioneer in it right now, and I didn't think he was going to give that up with his queen, if you will, the chess piece, if I'm talking about the queen on his chessboard, which is Micah Parsons, because there's nowhere he can't really move on the defensive front. So
yeah, it was good to see that he came out and said. It is funny though, because when you see like the interaction like on the draft when Micah Parsons shows the text messages and he's like, I love that defensive tackle, and he's like, I'm about that life. As a text back from Dan Quinn. It's funny that he has to then be like, hey, Micah, tone it down, buddy.
Well, I think it was he liked the Mazi Smith pick is because Mazi Smith keeps him clean.
Yeah.
At off-ball linebacker, right? Keeps the big offensive lineman from blocking me at the second level. So that's why he's like, hell yeah, I love Mazi because I can run. Yeah. I can actually operate freely. When I didn't have a great defensive tackle in front of me, those guys always got to the second level, made my life hell because I got to battle through an offensive lineman, then try to get to the ball carrier. Now I'm just running free. So I know why he likes Mazi Smith. But here's another Dan Quinn quote, just real quickly. And this shows you what Dan Quinn's philosophy is all about. He said, quote, I really tried to spend as much as I could on that to make things for us where people could play dual roles. When we can get to that spot where you're interchangeable pieces, it seems more complex. But really, I would say the package can be easier. We're just featuring people in different spots, meaning he wants players that can play multiple spots, versatility, hybridism. That's positionless football. And the Cowboys are the first team since the Steel Curtain in the early 70s to lead the NFL, I should say, in takeaways in back-to-back years. And a big part of why they are able to do that is because the interception numbers are way up. And a lot of those interception numbers are based on pre-snap shell disguise and discombobulating opposing quarterbacks with your pre-snap look and their post-snap diagnosis. And they don't line up. The pre-snap diagnosis and the post-snap read by the quarterback, when it doesn't line up, you get confusion. That's when quarterbacks throw picks. And nobody in the NFL is better at creating that confusion and discombobulating opponents than Dan Quinn's defense. It's one of the best in the league at it. And a lot of that is because you can move those pieces around the chessboard. And like I said, the queen of all those interchangeable pieces is Michael Parsons. Why the hell would you, why would you handicap him? Why would you ever say I'm just going to put him any one place and tell the opponents where that's going to be, making him therefore easier to game plan for? That just doesn't seem smart. So I'm glad that Dan Quinn is rectifying that, even though you'll still see him mostly at the end. But every now and then, they're going to be moving him around, and I think that's for the best. All right, we come back. We'll get ready to wrap it up and put it in the oven, let you know what's on tap right here on Ball Don't Lie, 104.9 The Horn. All right, welcome back to Ball Don't Lie. Getting ready to wrap this thing up and put it in the oven. Before we do, we'll let you know what's on tap. If you have missed any part of the shows, please go to hornfm.com. You can catch up with them on the podcast page. It's just that simple. Tomorrow, Patrick and I will be really pumped up. We'll probably be excited. We don't know which one of us is going to end up celebrating by the end of the show, but the NBA lottery tomorrow.
NBA draft lottery tomorrow night. Unfortunately, it used to always be like 6:15, 6:30.
Oh, they did later now?
Now they're doing it 7. I think what happened is because this is such a big one
It's a win
that
Benyama,
they said, you know what, let's wait till prime time.
Okay. That's good then. So we won't know by the end of the show. We'll know by Wednesday's show. But tomorrow we'll be talking a ton about the NBA lottery, the San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, and the Detroit Pistons, all with the best lottery odds to get the number 1 overall pick. And everybody's just trying to get Wembanyama. That's it. He's supposed to be the best overall prospect we've seen in the draft since who? Giannis? Since
LeBron.
LeBron?
Because Giannis was number 18. Like Giannis wasn't the guy because he was too skinny when it happened. So
That's
LeBron probably of a guy that people are thinking this guy has potential to be
like a franchise changing.
Like you're going to be surprised if he's not an MVP. Maybe Zion. We go Zion, and then it didn't work out, but he was massive hype.
He's more hype than Zion. Because he's international hype.
It is international. And we have not seen it. It's also going to depend who gets him to see the hype of the city can put on. Because once somebody gets that number 1 overall pick, then the hype train really starts before the draft.
That's true. Well,
no one wants to spin it too much right now because
listen, I'm going to say what's best for the NBA is he goes to Houston. I know you're gonna disagree with that.
I'll tell you, if it's fixed, I know it's not Houston who's going to get it. If it's fixed.
If it's fixed, well, I don't know if it's fixed. So I'm just saying.
I don't think it is fixed, by the way. I do not think it's fixed. But everybody keeps saying like Houston or Detroit or somebody will get him if it's
fixed.
If it's fixed, it's Charlotte. If it's fixed, because Michael Jordan said he might sell the team. You always get the number 1 pick, the team being sold, because it makes the highest value, makes all the owners a bunch more money. That's just the way that business works.
I
if it is,
with that.
I don't think it's going to be fixed. Also, Charlotte has the number 4 odds, so they're right behind the top 3 teams for the best pick.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I don't think it is fixed. Just saying, if you want to go with your conspiracy theories, Charlotte's the right answer for the conspiracy
I think
theory.
Houston will be best because I love San Antonio, but San Antonio is San Antonio as opposed
Houston's
to
a major
one
market.
of the largest cities in the world. And Detroit, I've lived in Detroit. Trust me, Houston's a way better city and more marketable than Detroit. Anybody ever talk about Detroit music?
Yes.
Not anymore.
Yeah,
not anymore.
But for a while.
No, yeah, back when it was the Motor City.
Yeah.
Now in Motor City, nobody cares about the music in Detroit anymore either. Eminem was the last one to come out. Other than that, I say H-Town's the spot. All right, we come back tomorrow, same time, same place. Remember, the revolution will not be televised. Talk about it right here on Ball Don't Lie. We love you guys. We mean that. Take care of yourselves, but more importantly, take care of each other. Peace.